That's what it feels like.
Oh my god.
It happens. I can be an asshole sometimes. Fuck it.
But that's not how feelings work. Emotions are cringe. It's hard. It's just.
Yeah, but following them. That's why we go way at the middle. We just play Sigma male affirmations for 12 hours.
Nah, that shit's cringe. That shit's cringe. Like, good wisdom. Good wisdom is taking logic and emotions and incorporating them together to figure out the best direction. Emotions are based.
Yeah, probably, yeah. That's kind of the thing that powers our whole lives. So.
Using the humor is cringe, right?
Me? Haha, no shot. No shot. Not me. I would never do that. Oh, that sounds like someone has a problem confronting feelings and emotions and shit, and they just try to use humor to get out of it so the other person leaves the call. Been fun, Tyler. Talk to you later, buddy. See you later.
Okay.
Bye.
Leave you in your avoidance.
Yep. See you later, Kyla. Have fun.
Yeah, just use it with humor. It's for blue-haired piss babies.
True.
We're
Absolutely
afraid of
true.
emotion.
Yep. Bye.
Yep.
Have fun.
Okay, bye. Have
See you
fun.
later. Absolutely fucking destroy it. Don't ever let her come back and think she can do anything.
Yeah, and also with policymakers,
Probably are
there is not forgetting. Okay, like I'm gonna talk to me who are helping. That's like a great, I think, of my.
Where were we at? We were watching a Vouch.
Right? One way is going to communicate to them. Let's back it up to it's men. And another way is going to communicate. I understand your side. Blah 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 blah. Even though I'm saying the same shit. Because of course, how you sound.
Where?
attempting and suicidal ideation. And when you pass anti-trans bills that make it more difficult for them to avail themselves of the medical or other services that may help them, you increase the odds that they will attempt suicide. And thus one could argue that those bills are in a sense a genocide. Is that like roughly the way one would do it?
I actually disagree with that line. For me, actually, the root of it would be in bathroom bills. That was where this all started, and I think that might have been like where this is going. Like that's kind of the end of it, right? So the bathroom bill, like the whole you have to use your biological bathroom, you use your biological porcelain toilet bowl or whatever. The idea there, I think, is actually one of the most sort of fundamentally genocidal because it completely precludes trans people from existing in public space. Most bathrooms are gender separated in public space, meaning that if you introduce legislation that could lead to them being arrested if they use the restroom they want to use, but then you whip up a big like anti-trans moral canon that increases the likelihood of them being assaulted if they use the bathroom the state says they should use. The truth is that they're just not going to use public restrooms. And that sounds like a trivial thing, and I understand this may come across as a hyperbolic, but I fully mean it. We have to understand how much like removal from public faculties was a component of Jim Crow era segregation. There's a lot of weight socially going like, okay, these institutions, these banal, everyday, ordinary human institutions that everyone else takes for granted, you don't get these, not just because it's circumstantially difficult, the way it might be for, say, a disabled person, maybe some physical difficulty in using them. That's unfortunate, but it's also kind of interesting.
The fuck? Yo, it's a Zoomer fuckboy pig. Yo! He got the Zoomer fuck... Wait.
removing them from that space. And to that, to my mind, that is logic. I mean, not to mention, we've talked about this on the stream. You guys have been seeing this, right? Like, is Santa's like threatening to arrest teachers who have gender ideology in their classrooms, whether it be in books, in the library, or in the classroom, or anything that's said, you know, opening up teachers to being like scrutinized by insane boomer right-wing parents if ever they say anything remotely progressive. Like, the laws recently to ban, I forget which state, to ban drag performances, to put them in the same category as like pornography. Obviously, when Republicans draft this legislation, it's not really just targeted at drag, although it's targeted at any kind of like gender divergent behavior. Keep in mind, it wasn't that long ago that in, say, New York City, the police could arrest you for deviance if you were wearing 3 articles of clothing that didn't belong to your gender. So, if you can, we have precedent. Now, technically, that law doesn't mention trans people, right? Like that like 100-year-old law doesn't say, like, yeah, if you're trans, you're arrested. But, you know, 3 articles of clothing that are the other gender. Like, we know what this actually means. We're not done. I would consider what I'm talking about here, considering the fact that it's part of a deliberate state orchestrated effort to specifically target minorities, I can comfortably call that genocide. I'm okay with it. Like, I think I can defend that just because the definition, again, can include like an effort to bring about in whole or in part an unlivable, an unlivable state of affairs to make life unlivably difficult for a group of people. I mean, Donald Trump was literally just saying, federally ban all trans persons.
His ideas, but
Why am I getting sucked into
so that's
this?
what I'm concerned about. He's my friend. Why isn't he validating even one else? So that's fine. But yeah, we can watch it if you'd like, but I'm embarrassed.
The last bit.
All of it. Like me talking to Steven the other day, you mean?
We need to get Lab's opinion on this.
Oh wait, what are you talking about?
Wait, why are you? I'm just saying the last 5 minutes of my conversation.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought you meant the last 5 minutes of the conversation I had with him where I was emotional.
No.
Oh,
I totally.
okay.
Sorry.
I'm emotional today. Like I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah, no,
triggered
I
at
know.
all today. Oh, okay,
I
yeah.
know. I mean,
I
yeah,
am
the last
triggered.
minute, and then I can finish my water. But I'm okay.
Can you hear it if I play it?
Yeah, but that is fundamental.
Okay.
Do a panel.
Okay, I can talk so much.
Feel any better? No? I mean,
If I heard Britney saying something that sounded fucking wild,
He said, if I heard Brittany saying something fucking wild, should I start there?
the 5 minutes back or whatever, the point where you basically heard me be like, yeah, but that's fair. Where you were at before, just keep watching it to the end. In the conversation, for example, and I get that she was sort of like,
Yeah, okay, go for it.
just coming into your space. But in a conversation where people are already wondering about like how much of an asshole, how you're told about things, then you're talking to a rape victim, and you're asking questions that communicate an aesthetic that some people are not going to like be able to hear what you're actually saying. Some people will buy it. In that situation, if you wanted to counter that happening, you could juxtapose your current conversation against your general appearance. So in the general appearance, you appear cold, kind of like chill. You ask questions, but like you're like sometimes disinterest. You're just like you kind of like suss through things in a very like logical way, more exclusive way, right? If that's like the general aesthetic that people have of you, if you're talking to a rape victim and you wanted to appear like somebody who wasn't saying extra wire or appearing in some sort of way, juxtapose.
Yeah, it's late here. It's like 10:41.
I have heard what you said.
It's getting to be nighttime. I'm on the Pacific
That this is what's happening.
time
sure.
zone.
I kind of understand what you're saying.
Can you guys hear me?
I think
I was sitting typing in chat. I can just talk.
I guess it's not aesthetic.
yeah.
And
This is okay. I'll be selfish now, right now. Okay, I'll just place my conversation. I think I need to make the ask. I think the thing is I would have a higher expectation from the friend. I guess that would be my goal. If I heard Britney saying something that sounded
Taz,
fucking
can you guys
wild,
hear me? Let me know if you
I
can
would
hear
never
me in
go
the
in and be
chat.
like, oh, Britney is like you fucking idiot, right?
So like yesterday, I could have said, Brittany, I think you actually fucking cool. The way that you played up the fight that your brother did, you think it's cool that guys get jumped. Like, you don't see that men are the victims of violent crime like 10 times per day. You don't see that men are getting locked up. Like, I could have gone down the road, but I don't think Brittany thinks that, right? But she did say exactly the type of thing, a woman romanticizing no violence, that like would play perfectly into that like misandrous narrative. I don't think Brittany's that kind of person. I would never assume. If I really thought that, I might like shoot her a message and be like, you don't actually think that like getting into fights is like a cool thing about being a guy or whatever, right? Like, but I don't think she does. I think that was just what she was supposed to say. So I guess I feel like if somebody comes on, especially a friend, and is like, I think you sound like a conservative, like just telling women to get over rape, and it's like, what? That's nice. It's like such an unbelievable feeling of me. It's like getting misgendered, I guess. Like whatever exists of me in your mind is so fucking different than what I would have assumed you would have thought of me. That's just the same thing. But I guess that's just my feeling, I guess. Now
Yeah, like it's unfair. Why would my friend?
Yeah, I was thinking about doing a conversation. Somebody in the chat wants to jump in. I think I can add one guest on stream labs at a time. I have to figure out how to do it though.
So he just, Tyler, if you're listening, he just said, okay.
I did another live stream with Ben Spados.
That's the end of the. You want me to keep going?
You know Ben from Instagram.
Okay.
With that Instagram group, and he's always doing.
I know it doesn't feel any better, but I think like this is a different conversation.
Yeah, I saw a thing. Baldur's Gate 3 was racist or something. Somebody was saying that Baldur's Gate 3 was racist. I think it was just some guy or something said that. Yeah, I gotta figure out how to get somebody to jump on here. I don't even know if you guys can hear me. Hey, Mr. Beans, come here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Aww. What you got? Silly cat.
I think that's very.
He just asked you anything else? Like you talked about
Yeah, so go all the way till after I leave the call, and then listen to like what's going on after.
Wait, what did I say after?
Maybe I'll link the video. Hold on, let me link the video for you. I don't know if it was racist or not. They just said it was racist. I don't know if it was a joke video or what, but just somebody said for some reason Baldur's 3 Baldur's Gate 3 was racist. I didn't watch the video.
the Annihilated.
So it didn't interest me. It sounded kind of silly, but.
Oh no.
Okay, yeah, I just called him a bluehead baby.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so is that what you wanted me to watch?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure you saw all of that context first, so that you knew the struggle is real with the emotions.
Yeah. No, yeah.
You guys see when people like start loading a whole bunch of like ideological? We're taking shots at like the Ukraine war out of everything here, like just randomly thrown into it. It's like so bizarre.
Oh, someone's complaining about racism and Baldur's Gate. It must be a day ending in Y because there's yet another person complaining about racism in video games. The game, Baldur's Gate 3. The problem, it depicts racism. Now I know what you're thinking, but no, it's not some right-winger complaining that the game's gone woke. No, it's some probable progressive complaining that the Tieflings, a race descended from someone who made a deal with the devil, are treated like trash by other races, including members of your own party. And this is somehow a bad thing because reasons. From Flatter, from who I'll call the whiniest tiefling ever. The racism in Baldur's Gate is genuinely so fucking hard on me. Playing a tiefling as a black person is brutal. Your party members antagonize you, the game antagonizes you, and the plot positions you as a bad guy if you don't help the heroes calling you slurs. Well, I'm black and I'm playing as a tiefling, and I didn't get the feeling that the plot was forcing me to be the bad guy. I did get the impression that as a tiefling, I was in a no-win situation because siding with either the druids or the tieflings would make the other side resent me. But that's part of the roleplay. Tieflings are hated because of what they look like, so this is what happens when you play that out. If it bothers you to play a race that's subjected to constant racism, you could pick another of the remaining 10 races. Well, maybe not half orcs and get Yankee or Drow, because they seem to be the spots too. I'm not sure about the other races since I'm not that familiar with the world of Dungeons & Dragons, but some of the other races could face prejudice too. That said, the whole idea with D&D is role-playing, so if you're going to be this precious about depictions of racism, you should take the time to learn about the different races before you choose. I picked the tieflings because I thought they looked cool. I didn't know anything about them, but that's the fun part for me. I like discovering the world by seeing how people react to the characters. If that's not your jam, this might not be the game for you. Also, you have choices in the dialogue, and I suspect if you chose all the tiefling choices, which come across as hostile, which would affect how the NPCs and party members respond to you. So, maybe pick different choices. I'm playing as a paladin, sworn to things, so I try to respond like that and pick the paladin choices when they pick the role, and that affects how people respond to my character. Again, I'm role-playing. That's the point. So this quiz went viral, and people jumped in with a community note saying that the tieflings are half devil and evil, but that's not true. One of their ancient ancestors made a pact that infused them with the essence of Asmodeus, overlord of the Nine Hells, and that's why they look like devils. However, while they inherited certain demonic powers, nothing about them being a tiefling makes them inherently evil. As far as I can tell, D&D lore acknowledges that much of the negativity attributed to the tieflings is due to how they're treated. In general, they're just like regular people, complex, multifaceted, and capable of being good or evil. That should be apparent from interacting with the tieflings in the Grove, so I'm guessing the people who made the note haven't played Baldur's Gate or D&D. Nevertheless, the whitest tiefling continues, quote, like if I don't help the druid who was coming to execute a child of my race or being of my race, I lose access to Karlach. I save the druids, and they insinuate I'm a disease. If I fail a druid quest, a massacre of my people is on my hands. What the fuck? What the fuck indeed, because that's not what happened to me. I found Karlach after I went to the Grove and got into it with Torga over the Little Thief. Also, you don't have to help the druids. In fact, Roth tells you that if you find Halsin, the actual leader of the druids, that should solve the problem with the being correct. So why don't you just go to the Goblin camp and save him like several druids and tieflings suggest you do? You have choices, so I don't know how you're screwing this up. Or maybe I do. I come home from a long day of microaggressions, masking, and then my guard is immediately backed up. I should be stressed and I'm making bad decisions, not because Lae'zel keeps threatening to kill me in my sleep for having horns. For right players, this is just fantasy. Dude, you don't live in 1963. I know you wish you did, but you don't. So stop it. It's just a game. Lae'zel is violent. She's like this with everyone. If you do a couple of story missions where you stand your ground and fight, she gets super turned on and wants to bone you immediately. This is all up to you and your choices. If you don't like the result, reload the last save and try a different response. Then the whiniest tiefling responds to all the interactions. Quote, I didn't expect this much traction off of this. I like this game. It's a good game. Everybody's gonna feel different. If you're white and taking a moral stance over the game that's louder than BIPOC, then consider if you're doing that to feel good about yourself. Y'all be easy. Well, I'm not white, and I'm telling you that your reaction to the game is overblown. The tieflings are supposed to be victims of racism. That's part of the lore of the world. If you don't like this, if it bothers you that much, you have options. Play another race. But apparently that's no bueno. Quote, y'all really don't need to tell me more about Karlach. I promise even if I'm wrong, which still seems unclear, and she can't be locked out, it does affect your relationship with her and Will, and the racism is the point. It's super fucking unnecessary. No, it's storytelling. It's world building. It's the reason you're playing the game. Do you not want the game to have elements of realism to it? Do you think that in a real medieval setting, if people saw humanoids with horns and tails who smelled of sulfur, that they would welcome these people? That's what D&D lore is playing on. So if you don't like it, play as an elf or a dwarf or a halfling. Then the whiniest tiefling complains about the clapbacks in the quote tweets. Quote, alright, the QTs are a goddamn cesspool. I never said I don't play the game. I said repeatedly, I love it. It's good to deal with racism in fiction, but doing it so disproportionately affects BIPOC. Do y'all think we prance around every day not experiencing the lick of discrimination? Yeah, I'm black and from Chicago. We don't. There is plenty of discrimination, but no, you're not spending every second of every day getting hammered with racism. Also, if you think it's good to deal with racism in fiction, why are you complaining? Clearly what Larian depicts is powerful enough to bother you. Don't you think people who rarely experience that kind of bias could benefit from playing the Tiefling and seeing what it's like for people to casually hate you? This is literally the point of telling that kind of story. Why do you have a problem with it? Well, the whiniest Tiefling tells us why. Quote, Tieflings, orcs, goblins, and drow are heavily steeped in racist bioessentialist lore. Attaching intrinsic morality to race is not creative. I don't blame Larian for this, it's not their lore. But there are far more interesting conflicts that have nothing to do with race. And you would discover them if you played the rest of the game and not just fixated on this one section with the grove. This idea that there's something racist about the lore is just nonsense. Creators are allowed to explore real-world conflicts like racism, and they shouldn't have to sugarcoat it because people are too sensitive about it on either side of the political aisle. Again, if this bothers you, you can play a different race. Larian lets you avoid the issue for the most part, so just change your race. You're not locked into any skin tone or facial structure, so you can make a black or Hispanic or Asian elf or gnome or human or whatever. The choice is yours, literally. So why are you complaining? Like y'all really don't see the problem with a devil did something evil, and so all its descendants for the rest of the time are evil. You don't see the problem with categorizing a large swath of people as evil and calling them pejoratives based on their appearance/heritage? Of course they do. That's the point. And if they don't, they'll see why it's wrong by playing as a Tiefling. That's also the point. If the Tiefling Druid conflict in the Grove was really about the Tieflings being refugees and not their race, the Druids at the gate wouldn't have yelled slurs. The Druid missing the locket inside wouldn't have threatened to beat a Tiefling child for stealing it from him, etc. I know, right? It's almost like Larian was making a point about how racism can play out in many different ways, like people hiding behind other issues. This is exactly the kind of story people need to see so they can understand the different forms bias can take. But here you are whining about people doing that. And it's funny to watch y'all go, not all druids. So you can do that, but you can't point out that even my traveling companions, whose favor I've earned, implying that I'm good for a devil, is really gross. Y'all over here going, all fictional lives matter. Come on. Again, you precious little snowflake. That is the point. Even your companions who like you and will eventually want to shag you rotten can also have prejudices and biases. And don't play a Tiefling/Drow isn't a solution. I challenge y'all to be brave enough to critique the media you consume. Critiquing something isn't the same as condemning it. I know I've pointed out something specific and right here because overwhelmingly BIPOC are speaking up. You aren't critiquing, you're complaining. And your complaint isn't that they're doing it badly, or that they're missing the point, or that they're oversimplifying it. You're just complaining that the lore has a temerity, the unmitigated gall, to depict what racism looks like. That's it. That makes it sound like you think they shouldn't show any bias in their lore. That's insane because there are dozens of races in D&D. Eventually there's going to be some group they don't like for whatever reason. This whole thing comes across like you're just complaining to complain, which the whiniest Tiefling goes on to basically prove. Quote, it's not bad faith to ask why BIPOC don't get the same level playing field in media. From character creators to stereotypes to in-game parallels to our real trauma, we are constantly misrepresented. Meaningful depictions of race does not equal forcing BIPOC to relive trauma without consent. Child, please, you are not reliving any trauma. Stop playing the victim. Tieflings don't represent any specific real-world group. Neither do the Drow, Orcs, Half-Orcs, Githyanki, or the Dragonborn. You can pick any other race, make your character Eddie Murphy Black, Precious Purple, or a beige bitch, and no one will say anything to you. No one's misrepresenting your fake real trauma. You're just projecting and ruining your own fun in the process. You have 11 races to choose from. No one is forcing you to play the Devilkin. But that's too much to ask. Quote, and again, I like the game. I really do. Come to your own conclusions about whether or not you want to play based on your comfort. I'm not telling anyone to boycott or anything, but the fantasy racism is ingrained into the story and it really does get tiring. That's all I said. If only there were a solution. Wait, scratch that. 6 solutions to that problem. If only you could play as a human, an elf, a half-elf, a dwarf, a halfling, or a gnome, and rarely, if ever, have to deal with any racist treatment in the game. Oh wait, you can do that? Then why don't you do that? And if it's this much of a problem for you, play another game. I honestly, genuinely find these arguments to be so stupid. Creators have the right to talk about these topics, and if you don't want to hear them, then find something else. It's not a critique to just say that the game has content you don't like. You've got to explain why that's a problem, and that problem needs to go beyond your personal taste. And when people present solutions to that problem, you shouldn't just outright dismiss them. You don't have to play as a tiefling. But if you do play as one, in D&D lore, everyone hates them and most people treat them terribly as a result. Nobody's changing the lore because you feel bombarded by microaggressions every day. Choose another race, suck it up and deal with it, or don't play the game. But don't act like Larian did something wrong by showing what racism looks like in the world of D&D. It's true to Dungeons & Dragons lore and adds realism to the game. If it bothers you, find another game. Try Final Fantasy XVI. Heard that one's a blast. But what do I know? I'm just some guy. Oh, I know what's in Final Fantasy XVI. I know exactly what it's about. That's why I picked it.
The United States and when this type of things were happening in the plantation and KKK.
We got Romanian judges,
This is so
KKK,
wild.
Andrew Tate,
No.
more black man.
I like how he selectively quotes from the women too. He picks and chooses from the women so much.
What she's claiming is other women were fined and their percentage was.
So like, this is what I mean when I say he's clearly operating in bad faith. What he's saying is true. She wasn't the one that said that she got fined. It was another person. But if he knows that quote, he should also know that she also said, oh yeah, they're not, there's literally a security booth right out here, you're right. The scary part was, I realized it was about halfway through, but then I didn't feel bad because I realized he was a bad debater. If he would have, his whole point, what he was trying to focus on the entire time was that the judge didn't provide enough evidence for detainment.
Is Andrew Tate guilty or innocent?
I personally think there's enough out there that Andrew Tate himself has said that unless he's lying about what he's done, he's obviously guilty of at least a few things. Namely, defrauding the women that he gets to work for him, probably sex trafficking via the Loverboy method, but I don't think anybody should be convicted of a crime unless adequate evidence is brought forth in a fair court, and then he's had his day to defend himself. So I think he's probably guilty, but I think we should wait and see how the process plays out.
Okay, and what is your take?
Yeah, my take is looking at the evidence and looking at the data that we have in front of us, I don't believe he's guilty. And that's all we can base it on is the evidence as opposed to snippets of on YouTube or things that have been phrased or portrayed in a certain way via social media.
Okay, so Destiny, you mentioned the Loverboy method. Do you think that the Loverboy method is actually sex trafficking and why?
It's interesting the dance that he'll play here pivoting between the evidence and pivoting between just that document that the judge uses to deny his appeal.
I don't have thoughts on it, or it's not like my goal is to define like what is sex trafficking. I just go by what the laws are, and usually the questions are, is he guilty of the crime of sex trafficking? And the Loverboy method is defined as sex trafficking, I believe, in most countries, because at least in Romania, and I think in most countries, if you are able to get a girl to do sex work using a coercive or fraudulent method, meaning you're misleading them as to what your relationship is, then that would constitute sex trafficking if you exploit them afterwards for sex work.
Okay, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with what Destiny said just towards the end. So basically, Loverboy method is a method by which human trafficking occurs. So if someone did Loverboy method on its own, that would not be a crime. So what makes it a crime is when you do the Loverboy method, and then you meet the requirements of human trafficking, and therefore you then meet the standard. So on its own, Loverboy method, a person would not be convicted of human trafficking solely based on Loverboy method.
So where do you guys disagree then?
I mean,
it seems like you're kind of on the same page.
I mean,
with that.
I actually don't know what Destiny's position is, so I'd actually like.
Well, my position is we should wait and see what the court system does. I think everything they've done up to this point has been A-okay, seems to be by the books, and then I think we should wait and see how the process plays out. I believe there's in Romanian law up to a maximum of 180 days that they can remain detained while they finish their investigation, and then it's up to the Romanian court to decide whether or not they want to bring charges to the Tates.
Right. So in terms of what Destiny said, I don't think that they've done everything A-okay. That's the first point. And the second point is I do believe that they've contravened certain domestic as well as international laws. And then separate to that, even when you look at the remanding someone for 180 days, although that doesn't contravene law, I have serious issues with that as well.
Could you say the second part of that again?
Yeah, so the 180 days, although that is within Romanian law, I have serious issues with it, and I can expand on that if you want.
Okay, yeah, could you tell me why?
Yeah, of course. So basically, we have a scenario where in Romania, you can basically detain someone without having adequate evidence to prosecute or convict. So essentially, you detain someone, take away their liberty and rights, put them in prison, and then say, guess what, I'm looking for evidence. Now, I understand a lot of people may not understand the problems with this, but coming from the background that I am, being a Muslim, being an Asian, a lot of our community have been through this, both in the United States and the United...
This is one of the few times where it's interesting, because the guy seems like relatively intelligent, but he makes it so ideological. I think it hurts him even on the conservative side. I can't believe he tried to make this like a race religion thing. What a weird angle of approach for this.
United Kingdom, where your liberty is taken away without due process, without having a trial, without evidence being submitted. And so for us, from the perspective of minorities and from that perspective, we have serious issues, because that was used to terrorize our community for more than 20 years. So yes, I will speak out about that, even if it's in the United States, United Kingdom, Romania, France. I think it's a serious issue when you could take away someone's liberty without having adequate evidence. And 6 months is horrendous to take away someone's liberty. That's a significant period, as someone's like to say, we haven't got enough evidence, we're going to jail you for 6 months, and then we're going to look for the evidence.
Do you agree with him or no?
I would if what he was saying was true. So I feel like there's a lot of tricky word games being played when we talk about detaining somebody without enough evidence. So in the Romanian legal system, if you are in the finishing stages of an investigation, you can detain somebody while you finish that investigation up, especially if you believe the people that you're detaining might be a flight risk. You can detain somebody without having enough evidence to charge them with a crime or convict them of a crime, obviously. But
I should have but when I'll go through all the claims first before I guess I start like trying to do more reading or whatever. But I had a bunch of people email me stuff. I should have leaned in harder in comparisons to the American legal system. Yeah, I actually feel like the more that I think about it, the Romanian legal system is actually quite similar to the US legal system. Detaining somebody without enough evidence to necessarily charge them with a crime immediately, that happens in the United States too. I don't know why I didn't think of that. Somebody emailed me was like, yeah, of course you do that. If somebody comes to my house and my wife is dead and I have a gun, like the cops are going to arrest me. And depending on the severity of what might have happened, they can detain me for quite a while too, while they're investigating that crime. The idea that I can be like, oh, you don't have to charge me right now, I can just moonwalk away. No, that's not true. Even in the U.S. court system, that's not true. They can hold you for a while they do an investigation. That's not unique to Romania at all. I don't know why I don't know why I didn't even think of this when I was having this conversation.
you do require compelling evidence to detain somebody, which is left to the discretion of the judges that are ruling on the case. I've noticed that you've quoted that document sometimes, the one that was released in, it was either November or December, where the judge said that there's not enough evidence to convict of a crime. You said that several times, but they're not looking for enough evidence to convict them of a crime. What the judge was supposed to evaluate was, is there enough evidence to warrant detaining them? And he did feel like there was enough evidence at that time. And the statements that he's made and the Romanian criminal code are all completely okay with the UN and with the United States.
How long though? 6 months is a long time. I think it depends on the severity of the charge and everything that's going on. Because people can be detained. How long were, for instance, like the January 6th people? Some of those people were detained for quite a while without any charges being filed against them. I mean, it sucks, but I think it can happen. It just depends on. It's going to come down to what exactly is being investigated. You know. Destiny looks cute with his fake glasses on. I don't know why you think my glasses are fake. I have a prescription of -0.5 and -1. They're real glasses. I just don't wear them that often because I don't need them. And I was going to be intellectual look here.
United States and with any other international legal body.
Oh, her setup is very strange. She has a giant TV in front of both of us where we can see the other person that we're talking to. So it feels natural. At least it feels natural to me to look forward at the person I'm talking to on the TV. But it looks weird to you guys because it just looks like we're both staring forward, like avoiding eye contact with each other, which is kind of strange. So like the way that it looks from behind is here's the couch. Both of us are sitting on the couch, and then in front of us is a big TV, and both of us are on the couch on the TV. So it looks to you guys like we're just like staring forward, avoiding eye contact, when in reality we're just looking at each other on the TV, basically. If you have that prescription, do you wear eye contacts then? I'm like a 0.25 difference in glasses, such a dramatic effect on my eyes. Does it really have that dramatic? I mean, like, I definitely see better with my glasses. Like, I can see, like, individual leaves and everything. But even without them, the only time I would feel a little worried is if I was driving at night in an unfamiliar area in a place that's really dark. Then I'd probably be like, I think I need my glasses. Other than that, I don't think it doesn't feel that big. They can't hold you for longer than 48 to 72 hours. This is granted by the 6th Amendment and the right to a speedy trial. Without having charged you of a crime? Is that 100%? I know Brandon literally probably just fucking Googled this and just gave me the first answer, so let me just see what I had a law student email me a bunch of stuff. I'll read this first point here, I guess. Destiny, that is incorrect. It's 48 hours before the judge. The judge can keep you. One of the main points the person you debated harped on was the level of evidence. The level of evidence required to detain someone pending trial. They also seem to frame it in such a way where what Romania is doing is somehow beyond what is considered normal. Although he briefly mentioned the U.S. doing something similar, he incorrectly attributed it solely to something like Guantanamo Bay. This argument appears to rely solely on his personal, subjective, and moral feelings about what the law should be instead of what the law is. While it is true that generally, federal investigations are often done before an arrest, nothing prevents prosecutors from continuing an investigation when a defendant is detained pre-trial. It's also important to remember that the police and prosecutors often belong to separate agencies. Let's take an example where a federal agent witnesses someone commit a federal crime and takes them to federal court. An officer requires reasonable suspicion of a crime in order to briefly detain someone and conduct an investigatory stop. If, however, during that stop, the officer obtains enough information that would give the officer probable cause that a crime has been committed, or, for instance, actually witnesses a crime in the officer's presence, the officer can arrest the suspect. After the suspect is arrested, they are taken to their initial hearing / first appearance in front of a judge, where they are told why they are arrested and given pre-trial release conditions, like bail, for instance. If the defendant cannot post bail and be released, they remain in jail or prison. After someone is arrested, prosecutors have around 70 to 100 days to actually charge / indict the defendant. They've not yet done so. This is true for basically every crime, not just Guantanamo Bay. During this time, the prosecutors might speak to witnesses and victims, conduct depositions, review the evidence, or do their own investigation. When someone is arrested and detained pre-trial, the prosecutor does not have to and is not expected to already have enough evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. There is much debate about someone being detained pre-trial if they cannot post bail because of the assumption of innocence, but the fact is that such an occurrence simply is not uncommon or violative of anyone's rights. The burden to arrest someone is probable cause, and meanwhile the prosecutor tries to amass enough evidence to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt later at trial. To charge / indict someone, I believe, my memory may be foggy here, the standard is that the prosecutor has to have a good faith belief that they continue with the case / prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. In other words, you don't even need to meet the beyond a reasonable doubt standard to charge someone. The prosecutor does not meet that good faith standard, / does not think they can, in the end, prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. They would have to dismiss the case by not bringing forth charges or by dropping the charges, depending how far the case has got. If you're interested in steps of federal criminal case, you can review this from the U.S. Department of Justice for a little more meat. I highly suggest you to read and review the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure. It's surprisingly not that hard to read or understand, and you should try reading whatever sounds interesting to you. Ultimately, as mentioned, I don't understand the point your WF1 was making. It seems driven by emotion or a notion of unfairness, not the law. Presumably, Romania is well within their capacity to detain someone, conduct an investigation pre-trial, to either renew what the police or review what the police have gathered, question people themselves, or find whatever they think might help. So, according to this guy, you could sit anywhere from 70 to 100 days waiting for a charge, even in U.S. courts. So, it's interesting.
So I don't understand when we try to push against the Romanian legal system why we say things like it's against international law or it's against international freedoms when this is how the Romanian criminal court system has been structured. It's one of the reasons why Andrew Tate, verbally said he was going to move there. I don't agree that it's in violation of any international laws. If it is, I'd like to hear which ones.
Sure, of course I can answer that, Destiny. So I'll answer your first point about in terms of the level of evidence that was required to remand him. So my position is that it's unacceptable to remand someone when you haven't got enough evidence to prosecute or to convict.
I should have just known this. It's unacceptable to reprimand someone don't have enough evidence to prosecute / convict. This is just wrong.
The threshold to hold someone isn't the way you framed it, where it's very close to basically prosecute or convict. The evidence is based on reasonable suspicion, so the bar is very low to meet that threshold, hence why I have a problem with it. If the bar was much higher, was close to beyond reasonable doubt, maybe even if it was balance of probability, we could maybe talk about that and look at the possibility of why that would be acceptable. But when the balance is reasonable suspicion, the bar is very low, it's easy to meet, and that's why I think it's unacceptable. First point. Second point, in terms of where they've contravened international law, that's a separate issue, so I will go into that because I know you've asked a fair question. So I'll just go through it. So first of all, Article 5.1 of the European Commission, which is incorporated into Romanian law, so it breaks European law as well as domestic Romanian law, states that whenever you provide evidence or prosecution provides evidence, he has to provide evidence both for and against his stance. That's not happened. He has not included evidence, which is, for example, the CCTV evidence. He has not included, for example, evidence which is long-form text messages, which include the entirety of the conversation. He's not included the witness statements, 3 of the witness statements of the alleged victims who say they're not victims. So those are examples of contravening Article 5.1. They've contravened Article 9.2, which this one we can argue because the first one I don't think there'll be much argument, but the second one, 9.2, is you can only detain on exceptional circumstances.
Let's see, in Germany, if you've been arrested and taken into custody by the police, you must be brought before a judge as soon as possible, and the latest on the day after your arrest, and at the latest on the day after your arrest. The judge then decides you should be kept in prison while awaiting trial. There is no maximum duration of pretrial detention, but most cases are tried within 6 months. You can only be kept in prison for more than 6 months before trial if there are strong grounds to justify detention. The CG keep you detention for penalties. We made by the judge, may be challenged by a complaint with our court. Well, this has to do, this is after you've been charged with a crime, though, I think. So this doesn't fit what we're talking about here.
And then 9.4 is that basically it's illegal to detain someone unless the circumstances are exceptional. And in this case, the exceptionality or the illegality or the problematic issue was that basically the psych report was used as a basis to detain them, and the psych report has significant issues in it, and I can go into depth in that if you want. Would you like me to, or shall I move on?
Well, I guess for the first point that you bring up, we should get a notepad to write down on.
A notepad?
Yeah, unironically. For the first point that you bring up, so saying that you need beyond probable doubt.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Or beyond reasonable doubt.
No, sorry. Yeah. Reasonable suspicion.
Okay, reasonable suspicion. Yeah. I think it's maybe fair to take issue with these things, but I mean, different courts across different countries are allowed to set up their legal systems in the ways that they see fit.
I shouldn't have yielded this here. I just need to be more familiar with. I roughly know the U.S. criminal procedure, just from all the random shit we've watched from JCS. For some reason, I let my mind get tricked into thinking that, I am thinking that, lots of different countries have, super different legal systems. That's probably not true. There's probably, 90% similarity between, most Western world legal systems. This is probably the case. With the U.S. and Romania probably being quite similar. I've let people frame the Andrew Tate case in an incorrect way for quite a while. I just shouldn't. I'm just being too charitable to that side. I shouldn't let them frame it that way.
And the Romanian courts are set up in a way that is in accordance with the European Commission. The judge himself references the EC and provides the evidence that they have for the EC in the statement that he released in order to make sure that it was on the up and up. I understand the desire to critique the Romanian legal system. I wouldn't want to live in a system like that personally, but that's.
But you kind of can in the U.S. I shouldn't even say that. They already kind of do that in the U.S.
I live in the United States. I haven't moved to another country to participate in that legal system.
You have the Patriot Act. You have the Patriot Act in the United States as well. We have the similar provisions in the United States.
We might, but I'm just saying that the Tates specifically moved to Romania because they said they wanted to.
And he makes a point. This is a point in my favor, and I don't even realize it, right? Because he's actually arguing that there are provisions, even in U.S. legal code, that are similar, right? The Patriot Act exists. Can I challenge the Patriot Act in international court? I'm sure some people probably tried, but I mean, we're the United States, baby, and we are the international courts. Okay.
specifically take advantage of that legal system. There are videos of Tate saying, lock me up in jail, I'll give him $1,000 and I'll be out and I'll have a masseuse and blah, blah, blah. And he's saying that. And he moved to that system, and that system is legal insofar as the EU framework is concerned, because nobody's challenged it, nobody has said anything about it. And I think that to try to call out that particular way of doing things now, I think rings a little bit hollow.
Okay, I'll answer that, and then we can move on to the Article 5 point. So in terms of the reasonable suspicion, yeah, again, I have a huge problem with it. Irrespective of Andrew Tate thought he was in a situation where there was leniency in the law, that was error on his part. But it doesn't mean that just because someone makes a silly decision and assumes that certain laws, that is unaware of the legalistic system in a certain country, that he should then, the harshness of it, we should ignore as well. In terms of the harshness of it, the reason why we have severe issues is because I can understand why you may not understand it, but people from the minority community who are being abused and terrorized by these laws, they understand what the problem is by it. And so for us, we're not just hating on the Romanian system, we're saying anywhere in the world that has detention without having significant...
Virtue signals on this so hard so many times. I let it slide because I figure it just sounds ridiculous. I think I call him it a couple times, but it just sounds so silly. I wonder if this is playing... I don't think this plays well with the audience. If he's, I'm just thinking on an optical point of view, because the Tate defenders are all going to be conservative. When you start pulling out like the race card, I don't think conservatives are going to typically play favorably to that.
An amount of evidence where you know you can prosecute or convict is something that we will speak out about, and it's wrong. So it's not just the Romanian system. I said Romania, US, UK, France, whichever country is detaining people with only based on minimal level of evidence, which is reasonable suspicion, is completely inappropriate, unacceptable, and we will speak out against it irrespective of who's been detained. And so we have that in Guantanamo Bay, when significant amounts of people from the Muslim community who are being detained without due process based on reasonable suspicion and have never been to trial.
Do you think that Guantanamo Bay, a military prison set up outside of the United States in order to maintain like foreign prisoners or terrorists, like people without uniforms, do you think that...
I don't think Guantanamo Bay ever housed, I took a guess here because I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think Guantanamo Bay housed domestic U.S. citizens, right? Guantanamo Bay was only for ununiformed enemy combatants, right? Am I wrong on that? I took a stab in the dark. I think that's true. Guantanamo Bay Wikipedia. Wait, no, I want the... I expect this. It's not like terrorist groups are not affected reported house status or facing more charges. Okay, gotcha.
That's comparable to what's happening right now in the Romanian criminal court system?
So you make a fair point, because it's not comparable in the sense of the time length, because some of them have spent 20 years.
Yeah.
But it's comparable in the sense of the aspect of, and so I'd give that as an extreme example. That's an example, but also people get detained for like 14 days, 28 days, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months without it. All of that is unacceptable. So
okay, but to be clear, when you say unacceptable, you mean to you. It's not violating any international law. You just personally don't like it.
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Well, when I say I personally don't like it, I think it's something that as someone who is a member of the community of the world, irrespective of what it is, and because you don't experience it, you probably don't realize, but it's a major issue for all of us, and it has been for 20 years.
That's fine, but we haven't been talking about it for 20 years. We've been talking about it for the past 3 months, really, with the Andrew Tate case.
Well, we've been talking about it for 20 years.
Sure, I'm sure some people have.
Yeah.
If you want to have a personal...
I should have personally investigated here, because like, especially, no offense, but if this guy's Islamic and he's defending like a lot of like Islamic stuff, I wonder if this guy's ever been calling out like Muslim majority countries for unfair legal systems. I feel like the answer is probably not. Now, I can't just guess that in the middle of a debate, but I wonder, have you actually been focusing on human rights violations in Muslim majority countries? I doubt it, but maybe he has been.
Issue with how some people do detainments without, I guess, meeting a certain threshold of, publicly available evidence. I think that's an interesting conversation to have, but I'm pretty sure that this particular thing has to do with the Andrew Tate case, and these particular opinions have to do with opinions about the legal system, not whether or not it's actually violating international law. So I don't like the framing of, I don't think this is fair, therefore it violates statements or guidelines by the European Commission, or it's violated, right? Yeah.
That wasn't my point. So, because you're conflating my 2 points. So my point was about reasonable suspicion, specifically why I have a problem with it. Very clear that did not break international law. I actually said it didn't. My proof of why it breaks international law, I cited Article 5, and I'm going to cite another 5-6 more legislations what it breaks. That hasn't got to do with reasonable suspicion. That's got to do with evidence.
Okay. So
first one was Article 5.1, which says that basically the prosecution has a duty to provide. So, for example, in the United Kingdom, in the United States, what happens is the prosecutor gains the information, and this is the same according to Article 5.1 as well as international law. What the prosecutor does is he gets the information, he looks at it, look, this is the strong points for my case, but actually these are the weak points for the defendant's case. I'm going to clear all of that and give it to the prosecutor, and then the prosecutor then makes a decision over the evidence and decides, wait a second, the evidence is strong, because our case is weak at this point, I'm not going to take this forward to prosecute. And so in the United Kingdom, the prosecutor's policy is, I'm saying this is contravened international law. Article 5.1 is he did not provide the evidence that weakens his own case to be able to prosecute. So that was my first point. Right, so CCTV footage of. So CCTV footage, the imperative, it basically shows what they should give us a very good window to understand where these women were they controlled, were they let out. It won't give us the full scope, but it'll give us a significant scope both inside and outside the house. CCTV also had CCTV in the house where they were living. That's right. And so, and the defense wants to include it, and that's going to be, I'm going to explain why that violates other articles which is then incorporated into the
I don't think they have to. I don't think there's an obligation for the court to include every single piece of evidence.
It's international law.
No, hold on.
Sorry.
It's, I should have been more precise here. They don't have to include. They don't have to include every piece of evidence. If there's something that might become exculpatory, which means something that would like let's say somebody's accusing you of police when our prosecution finds out they've got like rock solid video evidence that you are at a different time, or I'm sorry, at the same time, a different place or whatever, and they don't provide that, that would be exculpatory. It's like, this is evidence that will prove it, you didn't commit the crime. You don't provide that, then you're operating in bad faith, right? And you get in trouble for that. Yeah, it's something that would obviously exonerate you from the crime, but you don't have to provide neutral evidence. You don't provide evidence that's there necessarily being exculpatory. It's not, you don't have to provide it. If they thought that the CCTV stuff was exculpatory, then they don't necessarily provide it. Actually, we'll find out the extent to which they exculpate the evidence, but the idea that like every piece of evidence is exculpatory, that's not true.
Every single piece of evidence that we want them to testify. Right? At some point, I'm pretty sure that their goal is to just balance out whether in future investigations might lead to some sort of criminal charge. It's not to present the entirety of the defense's case.
Yes, U.S. grand juries can determine whether to charge someone as only one side of the presentation and the prosecution's evidence, none of that self-defense and exculpatory evidence. My understanding is even in the United States, exculpatory evidence has to be considered the prosecution side before any charge, before a court case actually comes up. I used to think, I said this before, and somebody emailed me. I thought that the prosecution just has to prove their case, and that's it. So I'll just try as soon as I can. But apparently there are, I think it's laws that say that like the legal system has to operate in good faith. That like if there's clearly evidence that saves you, exonerates you, the legal system has an obligation to take that. Yeah, I don't know if that was operating or not.
Case at that point in time to see if they can dismiss the charges. It's just to see if there's enough to detain them there for the investigation to continue, meaning they're going to begin to, or they're already in the process of.
I need to find and watch the CCTV footage. I've only heard descriptions of it. I think we've watched clips of it. But from everything that I've heard about this CCTV footage, it's not exculpatory at all. It's only exculpatory to like the 15 IQ like red pillars. Where like, oh, like clearly this woman wasn't sex trafficked because she's dancing at their house. It's like, okay, that doesn't prove anything one way or another. But yeah. Did you get emails from me before?
Subpoenaing electronic records and devices and going through chat logs and everything. And the judge, insofar as the statements he's released, has felt like there are significant enough claims, and I think publicly, I think we can all see that it warrants detaining them, especially given that they're a flight risk, so that the investigation can conclude. And it might be at the end of that investigation they decide, well, there's nothing going on here, and then they release them. But I think right now what we've seen publicly, we've all seen there's plenty enough evidence out there to say it's probably something here that's worth investigating.
That's not correct, because the reason why they have this process is because you can give someone who's been accused of a crime due process. He's given an opportunity to present the evidence, and then the CPS makes the decision. The reason for that is because everybody knows if you have a scenario in any kind of system where the prosecutor only provides positive evidence to try.
Something that's very frustrating, I don't know what to do for this. I have to tell people that I don't know. I'm not going to agree to debates, long-form debates. I don't like them at all. I want a back-and-forth conversation. It was really hard not to say something here. When he's saying,
the evidence, and then the CPS makes the decision. They have this process is because you can give someone who's been accused of a crime due process. He's given an opportunity to present the evidence, and then the
when we talk about due process and opportunity to present the evidence, like this is shit that happens like in trial, like at court. Like you're not gonna have, I don't think in any U.S. criminal procedure or any prosecution in the world, pre-trial is not you're giving all the evidence to the judge and the prosecution is giving all the evidence. That's not part of your. I don't think it's part of your due process. And the idea that because that's just going to court, that's just trial at that point. But it's frustrating. It's very frustrating not to be able to go back and forth, and instead have to do these really long-winded. These huge back and forths where you gotta like keep track of all the points and it just feels like you don't make much progress. It's very frustrating. What about discovery? Where's my legal dudes? Discovery is different. Discovery, I think discovery is once a charge has already been filed and then both sides are collecting evidence to make their case. That's discovery. And whatever evidence you're gonna bring up in court has to be made available to the other side. But that's part of the trial process. I don't believe you wouldn't call an investigation discovery. I don't think. I've got a couple legal players here. You guys correct me if I'm wrong. But like discovery is part of the trial process, not part of the investigatory process, I believe.
CPS makes the decision. The reason for that is because everybody knows.
Oh, okay. This guy said you're correct. I've watched 4 seasons of Better Call Saul.
If you have a scenario in any kind of system where the prosecutor only provides positive evidence to try and prosecute, and he doesn't provide the evidence that weakens his case, you will end up in trial no matter what. And then what will happen is everybody knows, even if you're innocent, trial risk could go wrong. And
I should have. This is hard too. I need to like super ultra read to be legal expert mode here, but like. I don't believe that you have to provide all the evidence that would weaken your case. You just have to provide, if there's exculpatory evidence, you have to provide that. But just like random piece of evidence you find that may or may not or whatever that are kind of neutral, I don't think you have to provide every single piece of evidence as a prosecutor, or you have to go digging for all of that evidence as a prosecutor. Basically, I think like the gist of it, I think the spirit of the law is that like, okay, well, we walked into this dude's house, he was bloody, holding a knife, his wife was bloody, we asked some questions, we did like an investigation, we didn't come across anything crazy. It's not like they've got to go digging like, okay, we need to go talk to his friends, we need to find this guy an alibi. You don't have to do the defendant's work for him. I don't think that's on the onus of the state. You just have to make sure you're not operating in bad faith. Again, you show up at the house, and you find out that like, you find out when you get there that like the guy was like sleeping, and he's got like a security camera footage that you review, and he was sleeping the whole time. His wife like fell down the stairs and tripped on a knife, and you don't bring that up to the judge. That would be bad, because now as part of your initial investigation, you found something that is clearly exculpatory. The guy couldn't have murdered her; he was sleeping.
And you could go to jail. Hence why they have these things in place to ensure that doesn't happen, and more innocent people aren't incarcerated. And I know you're from the United States, where there's a huge amount of incarcerations, more than anyone per capita around the world, as well as, for example, in the United States, you have much more black people, Hispanic people, 300% more, who have been incarcerated. So again, this is an example of another black man who's basically been incarcerated in, sorry, left. Do you not agree?
I don't know. I don't think this has anything to do with black men or whatever that's being incarcerated. I don't know why that's even brought up.
It does, because basically you're ignoring the fact that he's in Eastern Europe. It's basically has a significant amount of issues in terms of race issues.
It also has a significant amount of issues in terms of sex trafficking.
Yeah, well, it has, and we will talk about that, but in terms of the significant amount of race issues, significant amount of Islamophobia, you have a scenario where this country has not allowed any kind of dark immigrants into their country, but now they changed that for Ukrainian immigrants and allowed a significant amount.
I love all of the... This is where I kind of roll my... I don't think I actually roll my eyes, but I'm rolling my eyes a little bit. This is where he gets so... There's so... Do you see... I'm curious, do you guys see when people like start loading a whole bunch of like ideological, like we're taking shots at like the Ukraine war out of everything here, like just randomly thrown into this, like so bizarre that he would like take it to so many weird places.
You've got a significant amount of history of Islamophobia, so of course when a black man...
Hold on.
Crafting.
What the f is he right now? Is this even a speed run? Oh!
What fuck? Back to the VOD.
What did I hit? Why was I so far away from the wall?
Muslim gets incarcerated immediately after he's converted to Islam. I think
How long has the investigation been going on?
Well,
since April.
Well, they claim the investigation's been going on for April. We don't know exactly. It's going to be interesting to see when the evidence comes out, what evidence comes out. But what we do know is he was.
Just curious, is there a single shred of evidence to point to anybody at any point of this process being either racist or Islamophobic?
I've just explained to you examples of how Romania has demonstrated that, and also I'm going to demonstrate to you throughout this process how, for example, people are not understanding.
Can you explain how you believe in systemic racism in the U.S., but it's somehow impossible in Eastern Europe? No, I'm sure there is systemic racism in Eastern Europe, but you have to show that racism is involved, right? Maybe I need to be. No, I am clear on this when I say this shit. I said it when those officers killed the one dude. The 5 black officers killed the other guy. I didn't. People were saying that was racist. I don't think there's any proof of racism there, was it? I don't know if there was any racism in the George Floyd case. I don't know if that had anything to do with racism. I never saw any evidence of that Chauvin or any of the officers were racist. Now maybe there was some and I never heard about it. Maybe they were making weird comments on Facebook, but I never saw any evidence of that. No, I don't know. I think it's just kind of silly to assume things are racist without seeing any evidence of that.
A lot of the comments he makes is based on his heritage, is based on his background, where he comes from. Something which I understand you may not understand based on your upbringing and being a white man.
So let me ask that one more time. Is there a single shred of evidence that anybody's participated in any Islamophobia or racism in
I've just given
the undertaking?
No. I've just given you an example of Romania having a significant amount of racism. Well, I think it'd be harsh to call it racism, but it's a significant indicator if you're not letting people who are of dark.
It takes so many personal shots. It's just so fucking funny. I think I might call it out of the evidence. It's just like what I know about.
Dark color into your country, but you're letting people of white color into your country. I think that says a lot.
Okay, so I'll ask a third time, and if you don't have an answer, that's fine. You have no evidence.
No.
Any Islamophobia or racism present in the case.
I've just given you evidence.
You're telling me that the country as a whole maybe have had problems with racism, but in this particular case, I'm curious if there's any, like in the United States, if something happens and a cop was racist, you might look for like a statement that the cop has made. You wouldn't just say that like, wow, a black guy got arrested, that's racism, right? But you're saying that I'm not because he got arrested, it's racism and Islamophobia. So I'm curious if there's any evidence of that whatsoever.
No. What I'm saying is, when you look at the scenario, there is a significant issue when it comes to the fact that he is a black man and he is just converted to Islam and he's incarcerated in an Eastern European country. Ignore that is ridiculous, and I'll explain why. Because this is a scenario where if you ignore the issues of race, if you ignore the issues of someone's heritage, which is happening a lot in this case, because I know, and we're going to talk about some of the videos that you're complaining about, then you can basically break it into the bare bones and look at literalism and convict anyone of anything. But it's illogical. You have to look at the background. You have to look at the history of the person. Sure. In reality, when you take all them things into consideration, they have a significant impact. Look, this is quite simple. Because you can give these examples, and obviously you have to generalize them. This is a scenario where, let's be clear, it's a person who's a black man who's being, again, accused of rape or human trafficking of essentially white women. and being incarcerated in an Eastern European country without enough evidence. I mean, that takes me back.
According to says you,
that takes me
right?
back to, you know, for example, the United States and when this type of things are happening in the plantation and KKK.
We got Romanian judges,
and-
KKK, Andrew Tate,
No, no,
poor
no,
black man.
No, you can minimize it, but the issue is.
Well, not minimize it.
But let's talk about this. There's a significant.
Hold on, wait, you just said a whole thing. Well, just real quick,
Can I just
okay?
make one point?
Well,
Just
you
one
said
second.
like 7
No,
points.
because
Okay.
basically, you have a significant issue where black people are being accused of rape by white people, and it's happened significantly throughout the West. You've seen it now with Benjamin Mendy. You saw it with Greenwood footballers who were accused, and now after losing so many years of their life, they've finally been let out. So to think that this is not happening subconsciously or consciously is an issue.
Okay, so just this is a personal feeling that I have. I think that when we pivot to other cases, I feel like it's because we know that this case is very weak. If you want to talk about racism that exists in the United States or racism that exists in particular cases, I'm free to do that at any point in time, but right now we're talking specifically about the Andrew Tate case. Andrew Tate is a man that has released an entire university guide on how to be a pimp, on how to seduce women and get them to work for you, and how to sex traffic, on how to scam them on taxes, on how to do all of these things. He's had charges in multiple countries relating to rape. He's had charges in Romania now relating to his entire business relating to sex trafficking. To try to handwave all of this and go Islamophobia and racism would be okay if we had even one iota of evidence, a statement that a prosecutor made, a statement that a judge has made, any type of evidence like this. But right now we don't have any of that, so I can only go by what I've seen in front of me.
So then based on that, then you deny.
I should have reiterated like this is your feeling. I thought we were talking about facts. He uses that line a lot. I should have used it here.
Institutional racism, because you can never have a scenario where you can use specific evidence for generalization, but the whole point is we use generalization to we show many examples to then say, look, this is a general issue. So that's
You
the
might
first
use
point.
generalization.
And the
If you want
second,
to talk about generalization, that's fine. But we use generalization to talk about general issues. We don't use generalization to talk about a particular
No.
issue.
You not at all. What happens is you use specific issues to create a generalization, and then said generalization is used for subsequent issues. That's actually how it works. In terms of
what he just described as racism, right? If I were to do what he just did, it would be racism. Like, oh, well, I figure out a few specific things, and then I generalize those things, and then I use those generalizations to make decisions about all specific things. That's like the justification for all bigotry ever, right? Like, okay, well, a Muslim guy or a black guy did this or that. I'm going to generalize that to all people. And now, anytime a particular instance comes up, I'm going to say, oh, they're guilty because of that generalization. I mean, it's a really silly.
Coming back to the point, because you made quite a lot of points in terms of the allegations again, because this is another problem what we have, and because we're on the race issue, let's talk about it. So you have a scenario where you've basically got a guy who comes from Luton, England, who's basically got a background in, look, he was basically, if you give an American comparable, he's basically from the ghetto. He has a scenario where people from that kind of upbringing are talking in very much slang, humor, ghetto.
All of these arguments are so bad. I'm surprised that he went to any of these places. They're just like, they're comically bad arguments.
Type talk, oh, I'm a gangster, I'm a G, I did this, I did that girl, that did this, that, all that kind of stuff. So that's how they talk. Then to say, oh, guess what, he's talked like that, therefore he must have done these things, he's calling women like this, he's saying that he's done this, he said he's done fraud. All of these things are hugely problematic in the sense of you're basically removing his history and heritage. Now, I understand as a white man, you may not understand the background heritage and these type of things that he's going through, but the issue is, that's quite important. Do you not agree?
No.
Why not?
Because me being white or black or whatever has nothing to do with him giving a detail. Now, I'm going to be honest, okay? I've only been in London a few times, okay? Now, I haven't walked in some of the roughest parts, but maybe there are parts where you walk around and they're talking about how the top G's do tax fraud on their employees. Maybe that's just a way of speaking, but if it is a way of speaking,
why did he not? He actually noticed that that's true. Wait, what are you talking? It's such a silly, ridiculous argument. Why would you even try this?
To an incredible level, and you have a business where you claim to do that, and you put that out on videos, on social media, and then you go to jail for it. Yeah, you're probably going to get in trouble.
So let me
finish responding, okay? Your entire point that this is just a way of talking is ridiculous. It is absurd. He has listed exactly a step-by-step guide on how he lover boys girls into his sex trafficking business. He uses actual prostitution terms like bottom bitch to describe his relationship to some of the employees that he has. He talks about bringing women into his company to work them as sex traffic models, and then he specifically talks about defrauding them using taxes to steal money from them. I think it's a little bit racist of you to say that that's just how people from Luton, England or whatever talk, or that's how they function. I don't believe it.
Here is a tip that I had that's a really good tip for your writing. I've implemented this for years. No, I think I learned this in college. I think I need to implement it in my speaking, at least for debates. I think you should eliminate all of these statements. No, I just said it right there. You should eliminate all of these statements when you're speaking and you're trying to be persuasive. All they do is undermine your confidence in your point. It's never, ever, ever worth it. You're writing a speech or if you're giving a speech, you never say, I think that we should do this. No, we should do this. I believe that it's not right that this guy did that. No, it's not right that this guy did that. You should always eliminate those from your speaking. I do that in debates sometimes. I'm so used to caveating on stream. I need to just stop caveating too. I don't think half you fucking retard people watch my fucking stream. You guys post the wildest shit on my subreddit. I don't even know why I bother caveating. Holy shit.
That is the case.
Okay, so I'll answer your question. So, no, again, your point is actually doesn't make sense and it doesn't follow. It's non sequitur, and I'll explain why. The reason is because when you look at what he said online, again, you gave the example of bottom bitch and so on and so forth. That's basically slang. That's how people talk, and that's what you're not understanding. In terms of, let's look at your example, which is completely ridiculous. Because what you're saying is, guess what? He said this online, therefore he should be convicted based on it. Online, well, that's the inference you're making. Basically, online, you gave this example. You said he's trying to defraud them because online, what he actually said was this in that video. Because I know the video you're referring to. He says in the same video, he says, "Oh, I'm going to take all the money." In the same video, he says, "I'm going to give 50-50." In the same video, he says, "I'm going to give 50-30, 70-30 because 20%."
Does he say that all in that video? I watched, I think, a good 30 or 40 minute chunk from that talk in front of the fireplace. I don't remember him saying any of that, but I'm wondering if it's cut from an even larger video where he said that. I can't really call it out because I'm in front of me.
I'm going to tell us for tax purposes, but then I ain't going to pay the taxes, and hence why you're making the claim for fraud. The point is this. From the court documents, which I'm sure you've read, none of that is in there. In the court documents, what it actually says is complete opposite. What it says is, and this is the worst one, so this is the worst woman, she says, I receive 50%, he receives 25%, so she receives double of what he receives. So, that is nothing got to do with, or has no links to the video. So and she doesn't mention anything about being defrauded of taxes because she's receiving the full 50%, she's receiving 50%. So what you're claiming is, guess what? I don't care about what the court documents say. I don't care what the witnesses say. But guess what? In a video, he said this, and therefore he should be convicted based on the video. No, there's only two explanations for the video because the court documents don't add up to what the video says. Either he was exaggerating and talking in this kind of slang language is what I'm trying to explain. So he was exaggerating, or it could be, which is a possibility, that it was so long ago that he did engage in those practices and no longer does. But what we know is, in this case, what he's been charged for, what he's been held for, he hasn't been charged yet, but what he's been arrested for, no one says that.
Okay. So I'm sure you talked to a lot of people that have only watched clips of Andrew Tate, which is fair, and I think that a lot of people say a lot of dumb things about him because they've only seen clips, which is also not fair. I think people shouldn't do that. But I think you're relying on me having only seen clips. So you're trying to pass this off as slang. When he used that phrase, bottom bitch, he wasn't passing it off as slang. He was very specifically detailing bringing girls that were in love with him over to dinner where he would introduce them to his youngest working, or one of his younger working models, a woman that he met at 16 that had been working with him for 5 years, is now 21, and how he would use her to mislead the
Do you think this guy's going to take content long term? Maybe. I really don't like, and I obviously the well is a little poison because obviously I don't like Andrew Tate, right? I'm sure people know that. But I don't see how any reasonable person can listen to Andrew Tate stuff and be like, this guy's probably not a sex trafficker. I don't see how anybody, it feels very obvious when you listen to it. Unless you really want to take the position of, I think he's lying about everything he's saying. In which case, I don't know how you discern lies from the truth, but it's pretty obvious that he's like a trafficker. It's like, especially now after having watched a lot of his longer form videos, it's painfully obvious that he's a trafficker.
Relationship that they had so that she could get the girl the new.
Why isn't the fact that the Tate girls' passports are taken from them? It's always glossed over. That would explain why they would go for runs in return. Ray in YouTube chat. So the thing about Andrew Tate stealing passports from women, that piece of evidence was on Twitter from a guy leaking a chat conversation with him and Andrew Tate, I think, but I've never seen that corroborated anywhere else. I haven't seen prosecution documents corroborate that. I've heard other people corroborate that, so I don't use that as evidence. I don't know if that's actually true or not. when I'm building cases against stuff like this, I like to use the best evidence possible. So if you start using weak pieces of evidence, people can just attack that, and your whole case looks weak. Like what I do to this guy when he starts laboring like racism and Islamophobia and stuff. But yeah, I just haven't seen good evidence that they were taking people's passports. Maybe they do. Maybe that evidence is out there and I just haven't seen it yet, or maybe that'll come out in court.
New one that was brought into working as a cam girl. This is prostitute behavior. This is pimping behavior. This is exactly what it is. When he says bottom bitch here, he's not just using slang in a funny way to talk about a girl that's a friend of his that also works as her girlfriend. He's literally detailing step by step the process by how he would deceive and mislead, which are key components of sex trafficking. A new woman that he's brought in with another woman, he would mislead the extent of their relationship, and then he would use that to get her to go and be a cam girl. So that is not slang.
Right.
Wait, let me finish. That's not slang.
You just talk for ages, but okay,
Hold on. I didn't talk for ages.
I'm literally trying to respond point by point. This is why I don't like the really long back and forth. I might actually be talking away. I'm not sure. It's hard to keep track of it. I hate the 7 points and the 7 points. I hate this format so much. It's so god awful.
Yeah, I just spent like half the time.
Okay,
I literally
just
wrote
go,
down
keep
2
going,
points.
keep
I
going.
am
I'll
going.
let you go.
I go
Okay.
non-stop, okay? So it is not a slang thing. Secondly, you're bringing up this thing that the witness says they got 50%. That is not what the witness said. The witness said that originally there might have been an agreement where it was a 50-25-25 split, but the witness also said that they were randomly dinged for different charges that made it so that they didn't get that payout. For instance, if you didn't stream the full 12 hours, you might be fined like 1,000 to 4,000, whatever the Roman, or whatever the Romanian currency is.
I always want to call it Romanian currency, but careful. I wish I could find that.
Alright everyone, we start off today with the delirious level of cope that we're beginning to see from the liberals right now, based on a combination of polling, hype and hyperbole, and people like black creators in you know, the internet circuit. Something has shifted over the last few days. What could it be? Oh, the legal system is now being trotted out to persecute Donald Trump on spurious charges because they're afraid of him. Now, the original tagline, and conservatives are bad at messaging, we'll get into that as well, so maybe blunted effect, take note here. Snatching defeat from the jaws of victory, a lifelong Republican tradition, for a very long time at least. Right now, Donald Trump's mugshot is the #1 meme making the circuit, so to speak. And of course he looks very dour there. He looks like, I'm the deposed emperor, basically, is what that mugshot entails. And liberals, it's interesting. They're claiming the mugshot doesn't do anything. You're being racist if you claim that black voters would possibly rally around Trump because he got arrested. You're being racist. You're claiming that black people are criminals. That's not what's being claimed. That's the spin that liberals are going with, because right now they're really hurting. They've already begun to hemorrhage Hispanic votes because basically all they want to do is keep the border open and tell someone who's the grandchild of a successful immigrant that built a small business and now they've gone to college, they got a fucking master's degree and they own their own businesses too. They're being told that they need to identify with someone who just scrabbled their way across the border. And what they're not understanding is the majority of Hispanic voters were legal to begin with. They went through the process. They came because they had a skill, they got a job, they got an education, they served in the military. And I think there's a growing sense of resentment towards the Democratic Party among a group of people that have uplifted themselves in large part in many cases, and again are being identified with people who have broken the law to enter the country, aren't really entitled to work, but the government just ignores it anyway, and then compete with those legal immigrants. In many cases, they're third, fourth gen at this point, for jobs. That's among Hispanics. Among black voters, again, I think there's a rising resentment. I'm certainly seeing it myself. And some of these people that I see saying, you know, dicks out for Trump at this point, these are not rock-ribbed conservatives. Some of these people are clearly liberal individuals, and they're going off the plantation, so to speak. That's because the Democratic Party doesn't uplift their communities. And as far as the Trump mugshot goes, what it's really about is what white liberals have been peddling for decades, and they're not entirely wrong. They've just done a 180 recently. Haven't we been told by every liberal commentator under the sun, mostly white individuals, that differential enforcement, heavy-handed policing tactics, systemic problems with, I mean, look at CRT. What does it propose? The justice system is built by white people for white people. Well, I mean, Trump is white. It doesn't seem to be working for him now, does it? They then revert to the cope, well, he broke the law. Nobody's above the law. Well, that's not what you've been saying for decades and decades. Since I was a little kid, I used to, there used to be reports on TV, like NBC Nighttime News, and it'd be about, how LAPD was planting crack in black people's cars and then prosecuting them for it. It's entirely possible for a person to be prosecuted, especially in this sense, wall of charge mode, without having done anything wrong. The problem is that the liberals were the ones making that argument to pretty much every black person currently alive in the United States, and now it's being done to somebody who is high profile and white, and people are beginning to put two and two together. It's not that anyone's claiming, well, black people are criminals, so they identify with the criminal. No, black people have been legally persecuted, and so they're agreeing with the person who's being legally persecuted. Now, you've got new polling as of the last election. You had 8% support in 2020 for Trump among black citizens. It's jumped to 20% now. Joe Biden, meanwhile, went from about 90% to roughly 60% at this moment. That, by the way, that means there's a huge undecided gap. If black voters lean towards independent status and don't really go with the party affiliation thing anymore, you could see a bizarre scenario in which states that have been powerfully blue, mainly because they've got urban areas that are that tend to lean heavily Democrat, and much of that is overlap with minority communities. If that changes, I mean, even by a 10-point margin, it doesn't need to change by any more than that. I mean, if the Democrats no longer have a super majority in a city like Atlanta, because, they no longer have absolute support among those blocks within the public, racially speaking, they would no longer be hyper-competitive in Georgia. It would definitely hurt them in Virginia. You're looking at, like, the D.C. suburbs and so forth, Richmond, some of the bigger cities, which have large minority populations. If they're not able to counterbalance the overwhelmingly Republican rural areas and small towns, you probably lose Virginia. You're looking at Wisconsin, by the way, their Supreme Court now is lurched left, so the Republicans shouldn't bother to campaign there. They can expect the honkening to take Wisconsin for the Democrats no matter what the voting totals are. You could think of a situation in which areas like the Pacific Northwest, they had been swing states up until the last decade and a half or so. They've gone much more blue now. Much of that is at this point due to white liberals. It's not necessarily due to the Hispanic or black populations therein, certainly not the Asian populations, because they keep getting lumped in with this nonsensical BIPOC that the Democrats have developed as a sort of sloganeering attempt to gain votes. Well, you're from the Philippines. You're basically the same as this other person. They're from Ghana. Well, I mean, if I was in any of those groups of people, I would find that to be mildly offensive. Of course, I'm an individualist, so I say it's offensive when any group of people is specifically, pigeonholed, and I prefer to look at what individuals have done. So there are people that are of any race, of both genders. There are two. Any creed, etc., that are good and hardworking and they don't do any wrong, and then there are shitfucks within any of those groups of people. The Democrats have carefully curated a different schema that is advantageous for voting purposes. It's really what it is. You've got to understand, too, the Democrats are led by rich white liberals. They're not led by a populist leader like the GOP at this point, and their entire answer is, hey, the programs that we've been peddling for the last half century that haven't worked and haven't actually uplifted you or your black community, we're going to double down on them. Well, again, drawing a comparison between somebody who just came over the border illegally from Mexico, having come from Costa Rica, to somebody whose grandparents came from Nigeria 50 years ago, set up a business, and now they're a millionaire, but they're being told that they're the same thing. I think that it's beginning to rankle more people, and as the system breaks down, there's one silver lining. As the system gets worse, and under Biden it has inarguably gotten much, much worse. I'm seeing more individualism and independent voting patterns. Independence surging in 2020 and 2022, and that trend appears to be continuing. People are actually gaining more of an individualistic consciousness simply because they realize that the system is breaking down. Those old norms that have been established in the neocon, neolib sort of consensus order post-Ronald Reagan have begun to die out. It's no longer the same GOP. It's also no longer the same Democratic Party. You know, before Bernie Sanders was considered the befuddled funny dude, now they've got a whole socialist bloc within the House. They've got the Geek Squad. They've got a number of people who are effectively socialistic like Fetterman in the Senate. It's not just Sanders anymore. The Democratic Party is shifting hard left. They're offering a doubling down on the same policies that are ripping inner city ghettos apart even more. If the ghetto was bad 20 years ago, it's gotten worse now. Despite huge amounts of money being thrown at urban education, the educational rate keeps falling. It's because of the corrupt administrative body and the teachers' unions, again, championed by Democrats. And to say that Donald Trump or anyone else is claiming that because Trump is a criminal, blacks identify with him is completely missing the mark. They're coping and spinning that because they're losing control. They're afraid. So they're resorting to their usual line. You are racist. Oh, you claim not to be racist? Well, only a racist would say that. It's actually rather pathetic. That's about all. Peace out.
This is complete and utter cope. That is the official from Lex throwing Leighton under the bus. What a manipulative, disgusting person that Lex is. It's unreal how manipulative this little disgusting little freak is. What an absolute scumbag this person is. Seriously. So, yeah, there's been some developments to the Super Mega situation. I think what happened was Turkey Tom spoke to Destiny about it, Destiny covered it, Lyric's video came out about it, Short Fat Harpy also did a video about it, and it led to some new discussion and scrutiny and conversation about the whole situation. What I was saying earlier is people are celebrating one development, which is that Lex Updog has taken down her original video, which people have been, I guess, celebrating, I think. I don't know how you put it, but it seems people are kind of happy about that development. And the problem for me is, like, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. Like, that's, if anything, for me it's annoying that someone can come out with, like, serious allegations. They can come up with, like, serious allegations, and they put that message out there. And then, you know, weeks later, they just remove that video or unlist it or whatever they've done with it, and all the allegations are still there. All of the discourse is still going around. All of the conversation is still going around. It's just that the original video is then just gone. So if anything, it's going to kind of limit the scrutiny or the criticism that she then receives. Although that being said, I believe the comments got switched off on the videos before this happened anyway. So at this point, it's like that's gone, but the shit about Super Mega is still kind of floating about and being discussed, right? And it's good that there's new scrutiny and more people are talking about it again, and it does seem like the narrative has shifted quite a bit, and people are being more kind of like critical of the people who came up with the allegations. I'm all for that, that's good. The thing for me about it is that it's not even Super Mega that got fucked over for most of all of this. It's Don. Don is absolutely the person that's got the shittiest end of the stick in all of this, because his allegation, people keep talking about how the allegations against him were verified by Super Mega. That isn't actually what happened. Super Mega came out and they, you know, they verified it on the basis that Lex Updog had told them that it happened, and they used it as kind of like a defense mechanism. So essentially, they kind of like threw him under the bus, you know, for the sake of their own reputation. So yeah, I just, you know, I look at it and I think, damn, Don has really been done dirty in this whole situation. Especially when Don is the person who got off the easiest. What are you talking about? He got off the easiest. That is completely delusional. He had to leave Twitter, presumably because he was getting inundated with replies shitting on him. He put up a Patreon post saying, I'm going to still try and get something out of this if I can. And people were shitting on him for that as well. What do you mean? Don is like fucking disappeared from the internet. If Super Mega wanted to continue to make content, they could still make content. And this renewed conversation about it is only going to benefit them. You're on a different fucking planet. You're on a different fucking planet if you don't think that Don is the one that's got the shittiest end of the stick in all of this, right? You're acting like it's just leaving Twitter. He now has got the allegation hung around his neck, and every time he comes up, people are going to call him a fucking sexual assaulter or something like that. God, you people are so retarded, aren't you? I've got to be honest with you too. If you go and like when I first covered this, I think it was like late July. I think it was like late July, wasn't it? Right? I think it was late July. When I first covered this,
You can't say retarded.
it was like, you know, all the Super Mega fans were against me, and now all the Super Mega fans are like supporting Super Mega again. But it's like, you know, they've consistently been against every single person that has come out that has offered criticisms of the people coming out against Super Mega. It's almost like, this is your channel. This is your channel that you like. You like these guys making videos. Why are you so desperate to shit on them? And just agree with all of the people that are like coming out to solicit and push these allegations that are completely bogus against you, against these guys that you apparently like. God, I would hate, you know, don't get me wrong, if I did something insane, if I did something illegal, was arrested for it, was charged with a crime and prosecuted for a crime, that's one thing. But at the very least, I would hope if some random fucking person came out with some allegations against me, my community would at least be reasonable about it and wouldn't immediately turn on me and start shitting on me without looking at all sides of the story and hearing me out as well. But that's exactly what their so-called fan base has done. It's just crazy to me. It's crazy. Do you have something to tell us, Chud? No, well, I've experienced it before. I've had this exact thing happen to me on a much smaller scale, admittedly. Where, you know, there's been like an allegation against me, and at the time, my core community, there's some people who were more reasonable, but there's a lot of people that just started kind of shitting on me and acting like it was all true and left and stuff like that. So, you know, whilst on the one hand, it's obviously great to see that there's this kind of reinvigorated conversation about it, and it's great to see more people speaking about it again, and it's great to see people be more critical and more scrutinising, you know, Lex Updog, the Nick is Not Green guy, the Ethan guy as well. It's, you know, Lex Updog is just going to have deleted this video or privated this video or whatever she's done, and she can just kind of slink into the background. And all of the mess that's been left is still there. It's still there. It's still there to be, you know, to be dealt with. In fact, there's one video that I didn't watch because it's only a short video, but as I'm talking about it, I might as well watch it now. They released like an extremely short video talking about the future of Super Mega. So, yes! Oh, advert. So this is their video. Let's have a little look and see what's what. Also, the other thing I think about this too is like they're kind of making their own bed by like not just continuing to make content. It's a bit loud about it. Like, just keep making it, you'll be fine. Especially now with this recent conversation, you could probably put out a video right now and you'd be absolutely, probably largely be okay. I know they've lost like what, I think they're over 1 million subs and they've lost a lot of subscribers. But the thing to bear in mind is, the subscribers that they've lost are the people who like are not worth having in your audience anyway. You know, you're better off without those people in your audience. You know, cutting off some of the excess. These people that have stayed, apart from maybe the dead subs that probably exist on the channel, they're the people that are still going to support you. And I imagine the comments are probably like, you know, supporting and stuff like that, you know? So you might as well just keep going. You're kind of fucking yourself over by not just making content. So this is just saying what? We might return one day, or maybe we'll decide that's not what we want, only time will tell. So it's just, it's kind of like something to nothing, isn't it? We might return, we might not. Well, they can return, they can still, it doesn't really matter. They can still come back. And if they've got enough money, they don't need to. Well, that's their thing, isn't it? But like, they don't need to not make content. There's enough people out there, especially now with this renewed focus on it. There's absolutely loads of people that would support them, if only because they feel they've been wronged in some way. Be sure to let you guys know. We're gonna, okay. when I see stuff like this, I'm just like, yeah, I kind of want to spitefully flip to the other side almost. I don't know, it just comes across as so cringe to me. Is the music, what is the music? Is it video game music? I don't want to get clapped for it. I mean, we don't even need it, to be fair, so we can just turn it off. We'll post the 5 bits of content we had and a more detailed update over on our Patreon. We figured the folks who stuck around on there deserve something nice. Unreleased song and music video clips, okay? Whatever that is. Final 2 unreleased episodes of Super Mega Cast and After Hours. Unreleased mail video and extended cut. Okay, this is the content. Video tour of what would have been on New Office. Okay. Plus a much more detailed update, a look at our D&D show, final Q&A video, and more. This has been our dreams for kids. Okay. Truly sorry to have a more concrete answer. We need time to reflect on and focus on our lives outside the internet. The 2 of us will always remain best friends, Super Mega or not. Stay in school. Thank you for everything. Until next time, friends. There you go. Is that it? Looks like that's it. Okay. Where's the Patreon post? Is it accessible? Can I see it? Recent posts. Polaroids, unreleased mailroom. I don't know if the post is here, it's just the video that we're talking about. Unreleased mailroom. Dungeons and Dragons, unreleased. I would have thought they'd made their text post for everyone, though. I guess they're just keeping it. Oh, here we go. We got it. Okay. So this is the more substantive post, apparently. Very G6 energy, true. We've missed you guys, and we know you all understandably have a lot of questions about the future of Super Mega. We want to take a moment to give you all an official update on the state of things. So first and foremost, what is the future of Super Mega? Well, to rip off the band-aid, the truth is that we do not have any definitive plans, one way or another, about the future of Super Mega. We've been asking ourselves many of the same questions that you've been asking us over the last few weeks. In our eyes, it would not be right for us to continue to put you content on the channel without genuinely reflecting on our past and contemplating what we want for the future. This could mean resuming the channel in the future, taking a lengthy hiatus, or deciding to say goodbye for good. We simply haven't had enough time to process everything and come back to a decision that feels right for our fans, our loved ones, and our mental health. We know that the lack of concrete decision will be disappointing for some, and we really do apologise for it. I mean, this just seems to be repeating what they put in. I mean, this just seems to be the same as what they put in the video. Honestly, this feels like an effort to get people to subscribe to the Patreon, I've got to say. Feels like it's like, yeah, come on guys, come over to the Patreon and have a look. Hoping to get some of those sympathy Patreon bucks. We've seen a lot of requests for us to make our completed but unreleased content available on our Patreon. We felt it was only right to show the people still supporting us on this page that what we've been up to. Over the next day or so, we'll be posting the final piece of content that remain in our reserves. This will include some of the projects that we've been working on, our finished videos that we never got to release, and some updates about what our plans were. We hope that by releasing this behind-the-scenes look at stuff, you all can see that we're truly more excited about Super Mega than ever, and we couldn't wait to show everyone what we were cooking up in this new chapter ahead. My gut instinct here is they've already decided that they're going to make a comeback. I think that they're probably already thinking about the comeback plan, and they're saying this to kind of like, think of an OnlyFans whore, okay? Think of an OnlyFans whore, and they don't show everything, they just show like a bikini picture, or something like that. And then they tease out that there's going to be something more, and then it doesn't happen, and eventually they do release the something more, and then it's like, oh my god, I can see this bitch's asshole now, let's go, yes please, sign me up. I think it's a similar concept, where they're kind of like teasing it a bit, so they can come back to like a big bombastic return to their content and stuff like that. Yeah, or like the streamer that does the, yeah, oh, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Anyway, we are so grateful for all of you who continue to support us through your Patreon subscriptions, and we please ask that you do not share this content on other platforms. Bottom line, we wanted to provide some additional content for those who are supporting us through a Patreon subscription. We understand that you might choose not to maintain your Patreon subscription, but for those who choose to stick around after the curtain call, whether for access to all the content or simply just show support, we appreciate it beyond belief. Okay, I think the soliciting further Patreon support is a valid observation then. Regardless of your choice, thank you to those who are currently or ever were in the past a subscriber, a patron, or just a fan of the dumb shit we make. We appreciate you more than you ever know. Without you guys, we wouldn't have been able to spend so many years creating and having fun. It's been a hell of a ride up to this point, and you've given 2 dumbasses from South Carolina the ultimate gift of allowing us to share our lives, content, and friendship with you, while getting to do our favourite thing in the world, create. For this, we will always be immensely grateful. Should any decisions be made moving forward, we'll make sure to share them openly. However, for now, we're signing off. Thank you again to everyone who has supported us on this journey. Your uncles Matthew and Ryan will always love you. Farewell, freaks. Take it easy. Don't forget to bathe. I feel like these guys deserve more criticism for throwing Don under the bus, I must say. I feel like there's not really much of a choice they could have made. I just hate reading this and they're being like very kind of like self-victimization-y, which there's some validity to that because they've been unfairly and unreasonably attacked. But it's like, what about Don? What about Don? You know, Don is just fucking desperately trying to cobble together his fucking art shit off the back of a very dubious allegation. And they're like, oh, we don't know if we're going to be back or not. And I'm guessing they know very well that they are going to be back, and that's why they've worded it in this way. Okay, there's a lot of Reddit posts and some are infuriating me already. I just want to find Lex's response. Here we go, this is it. Redditors are subhuman, obviously. Right, what's this? So these are Lex's final thoughts. I'm guessing this is the YouTube video comment that's been edited, right? If you're reading this, this is now unlisted because it no longer needs to be up, as it has served its purpose, which was getting my message to people that mattered to me after a long time of not having been okay. If you want, why would you not just tell them personally? Why do you need to do a YouTube video in order to do that? The ability to talk about what ultimately led me to being emotionally devastated for a very long time, affecting many important aspects of my life, hence part of why I spoke out about the aftermath of the assault so much. This is complete and utter cope. This is complete and utter cope. You can go and look at footage of her on a retarded boyfriend stream, that Ethan dude, celebrating as Super Mega's sub count went down, okay? It's this idea of I talked about it so much because the emotional devastation is complete and utter cope. She spoke about it because she wanted to fuck with Super Mega, because she had a nose pat out joint with some of the stuff that happened. There was absolutely no reason to include all the stuff she did in her video about Super Mega. No reason whatsoever. Especially when you actually look at the facts of the matter and you realise that she presented it in a very dishonest way, in a very deceptive way, to make Super Mega look way worse than they actually were in practice. When I was assaulted before when I was 17, I wasn't believed by my close friends, so being believed by them is the most precious thing I could ask for. I felt so relieved being able to know that people now knew why I wasn't acting like myself. This is, okay, obviously, the assault was 17, that's bad. I don't know the nature of that. Okay, I don't want to speak on that too much. I don't fucking know what is the truth or not of that. But this element of, you know, people not knowing why I wasn't acting like myself, who is going to know that except for your closest friends? Again, this doesn't really give a justification. This doesn't really give a justification as to releasing this video publicly to so many people, because if your concern is being believed by your close personal friends, you would just speak to them on an individual level about it and say, hey, this is what happened, and they'd probably believe you if they're your friends, you know? So is the assault from Don 100% confirmed? Basically, well, I've already got fucking hours of content about this if you want to know my full take, okay? It is the Jordan Peterson situation of you need to go and watch the hours of coverage I've done to get my opinion. But I'll just give you a quick rundown summary now, okay? I don't believe that what was described was sexual assault, no. What was described, taking her story into account, taking his story into account, the truth was probably somewhere in the middle. It sounds more so like an awkward sexual encounter, more so than it being a genuine instance of sexual assault, okay? By her story, Don wanted to engage in a sex act and pushed her head down to try and get her to do it until eventually, you know, she verbally said that she didn't want to do it, and then it stopped. By Don's account, he'd asked earlier in the day whether he could have the sex act performed on him. She said no. He asked again later. She said yes. And in the course of it, he touched her head in a way that apparently made her uncomfortable, which led to the act stopping, which led to them then, you know, hanging out and watching movies together or something like that, right? And then talking about what happened. And even beyond that story, there's other kind of elements to it which really call into question kind of her actions, such as the fact that following this supposed assault, she continued to stay with him for the rest of the week. They then went their separate ways and lived apart. They were only together for like a week at someone's house. They then continued with this kind of online relationship, including like her hanging out with him regularly. And then at the first creator clash, she was at an Airbnb and she invited him round, and it was then that she said to him, "You sexually assaulted me and I'm splitting up with you." So, you know, if you want my full, you know, if you want my full coverage, there's videos on my channel about it. It's the one with all the controversial thumbnails that people didn't like that you can see, okay? Anyway, I'm so thankful to be believed by so many, despite me going on for too long about too many different things. My perspective was that if I talked about so many things, that no one could say something like Lex made this up, because too many things happened that I couldn't have even dreamt of making up, rather than just being really vague about what happened. So many things that no one could say, something like Lex made this up. The trouble with this is that it's not a case that she's just making things up wholesale. It's not a case that she is just concocting things out of literally nothing as fake stories. It's the element of embellishing, or telling a very heavily biased side of it from her perspective, right? That is the problem. That is the issue. Because, yes, they did meet up. Yes, they did engage in a sex act, okay? The dispute is over whether or not that sex act constituted sexual assault. And even by her own description, it doesn't really seem to constitute sexual assault, you know? So it's not a problem that she's just making things up wholesale. If you move to like the super mega part of the story where she's talking about the experiences that she had there, you know, again, it's not the case that she's just making things up out of nothing. She's taking situations and embellishing them and telling her own very biased side of the story to make the other party look as bad as possible. In doing that made my sorry hard to understand for many. Okay, well. In doing that made my sorry hard to understand for many. Okay, I don't. Giving people who have no reason to be charitable a reason to outright disbelieve me. Oh, story. Okay, yeah. In doing that made my story hard to understand for many, giving people who had no reason to be charitable a reason to outright disbelieve me. It also doesn't help that I have an individual around me who has made this worse for me by taking my trust in them for granted, by using it as a platform to say a lot of really not okay things while I was out seeing a movie. Okay, so there it is, guys. That is the official from Lex throwing Layton under the bus, okay? This is the sign for me of what a manipulative, disgusting person that Lex is. Because, you know, she knows that Layton got a lot of flack and got heavily criticised in Super Mega's response, okay? You can compare this to how she spoke about Layton before there was a lot of public outcry and attention and people were sort of siding more with Super Mega than Layton. It was very different, but now it's reached a stage where she can just easily pass the buck onto Layton and put it all onto his shoulders. What that's in relation to is there's messages from the Super Mega Discord that go back to when this kind of happened, and she claimed that because Layton's stream was kind of initially, even from the start, was somewhat being criticised by people, and she said, oh, well, I wasn't in chat, I was watching a movie, so I wasn't really able to, like, speak on it at the time. And she had at least some insight into what Layton was going to do. She had some insight into that. This idea now that she's like, oh, you just made it worse. You're telling me that Layton didn't give you insight into all of the stuff he was going to claim before. That's complete and utter bullshit. That is complete and utter bullshit code. So she's basically using the controversy around Layton to kind of shift it. She's trying to shift it away from her and make it so that, you know, Layton is now the bad guy of the story, you know? Bear in mind, they're supposed to be friends as well, apparently. Layton is supposed to be friends with her. Bear in mind as well, Layton, okay, let me find the message. Let me find the message that shows this. This is wild, man. God, she's such a... It's unreal. It's unreal how manipulative this little disgusting little freak is. I'm just seeing Mr. Beard's tweets pop up. Mr. Beard has quit the internet now. Here we go. So these messages are from closer to the time of Layton's stream, okay? So bear in mind what she's saying now. It also doesn't help that I have an individual around me who has made things worse for me by taking my trust in them for granted, by using it as a platform to say a lot of really not okay things while I was out seeing a movie. So this is a message from around the time this happened. God, she's such a little fucking puppet master pulling the strings. It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's just a thing he's going to have to deal with, referring to Layton and the pushback on the Layton stream. I got mad at him and told him, and he instantly apologised and deleted his social apps for now, so we won't be talking anymore for now, so he's respecting my wishes, which is all I really need right now. So at the time, she put pressure on Layton, which then led to him deleting his social media apps, so he couldn't speak on it anymore at the time, right? Essentially fucking gagging himself because of pressure from her, right? And now, here she is, completely throwing him under the bus. What an absolute fucking scumbag bitch this person is. Seriously. So at the time, different tone. Oh, you know, he said some things, and oh, now he's not speaking on it though, which is good. He's respecting my wishes. To this. Completely and utterly chucking the guy under the bus. And the thing is as well, is I don't like this Layton guy. This Layton guy's a little skeezy fuck as well. But it just speaks to the fact that, you know, Lex is someone in this situation who is clearly, you know, talking to people behind the scenes, talking to Layton at the time, getting him to stop talking about it because his video ended up not going down as well as it should have done. It's unreal, man. Anyway, what else have we got here? I would have never talked if I knew something like that would happen because it seriously made me regret saying anything despite the relief I felt prior. Just getting the boot into Layton even more there. Fuck me. Also, the other thing to bear in mind with that too is, again, it wasn't like this was a surprise to her. She must have known that Layton was going to come forward and talk about all of this, and she must have had some insight into what he was going to say before he did the stream. I refuse to believe that she was totally clueless of the kinds of things that Layton was going to say. Anyway, I genuinely didn't expect this to get as big as it did. You're talking about like a 1 million sub YouTube channel. And so this is also why I'm unlisting the video as well. I very rarely upload to this channel. Check the other uploads. I use it like a time capsule and I upload long messages like live updates to archive them. and didn't, still don't, to be honest, really know how the YouTube algorithm works to know if it would have blown up like it did. Being more familiar with the site now, I would have left it without comments and unlisted from the very beginning if I were more familiar with the website than I was before uploading this. I linked this video to my smaller Twitter account closer tied with Don versus all my social media, thinking that the people on my Twitter were pretty much the main people that would have seen it, maybe even less. If you compare the views from my other videos, you can see why I thought this. So she's basically using this idea that she only wanted people close to Don to know. But if it was all about Don, why on earth would you talk about Super Mega at all? This is the repeated thing that you hear from the people that came out with these criticisms, right? Okay. Is they constantly talk about how this was all supposed to be about Don. Well, if it's about Don, why are you even bringing Super Mega into this? I mean, you know, obviously, I'm very fucking skeptical about the allegation as it is, but you would make a video about the allegation to Don, and then if you felt you had some bad stuff to say about Super Mega, you would make a separate video about Super Mega. But you combined it all because you wanted to link the two together, so the anger that people felt about this so-called sexual assault would feed into the Super Mega stuff because they were the fucking bad guys. They were the fucking bad guys in the story that you really wanted to hurt, you really wanted to attack, on top of Don. Super Mega fans are full of SJWs. Yeah, that's true. I mean, haven't they knocked about with Hassan and people like that? Yeah, this is just like using this kind of ditzy, oh, I didn't know how it worked situation. It's like you're putting out a video about someone, including Super Mega, who are a big YouTube channel. The idea that you had no idea this was going to get as big as it is absurd to me. My intention was to get my message about Don immediately completed and believed. And talk about... Is she saying that it was immediately believed, or that she wanted it to be immediately believed? And talk about what happened after that, unfortunately led to me see him again, which is what... My intention was to get any message... I'm fucking up now. My intention was to get my message about Don immediately completed and believed. And talk about what happened after that unfortunately led to me see him again, which is what led to a lot of interpersonal chaos that I learned wasn't necessary explaining in detail or even at all to be believed. I think what she's saying is, again, this is the other kind of aspect of this. Like, I feel like she's trying to say she felt she had to explain all the detail to be believed. Is that right? It just seems to me it was obviously about attacking Super Mega. A big part of this was obviously about attacking Super Mega. Now, there's been more scrutiny and discussion and conversation about it, okay? I feel like she's realizing that the Super Mega stuff doesn't really have that many legs. So she's trying to almost, like, cut that part of it off and have that float away and hold on to the allegations against Don. Like, she still wants that to stick. And she still wants that to stick. She still wants to hold on to that, which is probably going to work because a lot of people still believe that Don shit is just 100% correct. But she wants the Super Mega stuff to kind of float away and not be associated with her anymore because of how badly it's gone. When originally she wanted it to be an attack on Super Mega. So she's got to come up with all of this reasoning and all of these excuses as to why she included so much of the stuff about Super Mega. And it doesn't really sit right and it doesn't really make sense, you know? You would have to be a massive retarded simp to sit here and read this and think, oh yeah, this justifies why you spent the majority of your video talking about Super Mega. Like, it doesn't at all. It doesn't at all. It's that she wanted to shit on Super Mega. It's now turned against her quite badly, and she's desperately trying to cut that aspect of the criticism off whilst holding on to the Don part of the story. That's what it seems like to me, at least. I've always seen online that many things can lead people to not believe victims, and I felt so scared about not being believed that I thought it was more believable to mention more things than less, and having considered it would have muddied the water instead. Just tell the fucking truth, you stupid bitch. You wanted to shit on Super Mega. The worm is now turned. It's turned against you. You're desperately trying to distance yourself from that and come up with all these excuses as to why you decided to include such a large portion of just shitting on Super Mega in the video. God, she's like... She's possibly one of the most, like, despicable people that I've seen in one of these types of situations. She is, like, just an absolutely rotten person to her core. But the problem is, you know, we live in an age where women are... to scrutinise a woman or criticise a woman is considered crime in and of itself, so, you know. If some things I've said in this edit wasn't a tell, I've been feeling very introspective lately, and this situation's aftermath has made it obvious I have a lot to learn about in general, but especially having better judgment for myself, and in that I need to meet new people who won't take advantage of me because I can be really gullible and think everyone has my best interest at heart, even in situations where I shouldn't. I hope everyone has a nice day. If you see this and got to here, thanks so much for reading. Yeah, perhaps don't put out completely dubious allegations to try and destroy people's careers in the future. That might be worth something. That might be worth considering. God, I hate the fact that, you know, one aspect that is true is she is going to scuttle away without, you know, I mean, I hate The thing is, the trouble with this is I don't want it to turn into the opposite. Do you know what I mean? I don't want it to turn into like I'm calling for blood for this person. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not really about that, right? I just wish there was some way that this person could, you know, like they're going to be surrounded by people around them that are just yes men and shit like that, and are probably all backing her up and fucking gassing her up and stuff like that. You know? Exactly. It's like that's it. She'll get away with it, right? And I don't know what the other solution looks like. I feel like it's more just court of public opinion shit, and I think that stuff's stupid. But it feels like she'll just scuttle away, and that's it, you know? Whereas with people like Nick is Not Green and that Ethan guy, they, to a degree, are going to like kind of get away with stuff. But the reality of it is, at some point, the beast is going to turn on them. The court of public opinion will turn on them. And whilst I would still offer a defence if it's worthwhile, it's going to be funny to watch at least, you know? Like, I've seen it happen before, where people who are, like, very for the court of public opinion and shitting on people and tearing people apart, when the worm turns and it comes back on them, it's very funny to watch, you know? But, you know, Lex is probably at very little risk with that because she's a woman on the internet. Yeah. DJ Mule. I spoke a bit about this earlier. There was this, like, it's a random story, but there was this Twitter anarchist guy who was always getting on top of allegations and going after people, and then some allegations came out against him, and he was kind of toast. Like, there was nothing he could do or say because he'd always I think he'd even tweeted out about how rapists should be redacted. Like, he was talking about how rapists should, you know, be... It's like, dude, what are you doing? Now you are the rapist. So what? You're gonna thank yourself? Anyway. Yeah. Like I say, it's not... Listen, to me, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. She can enlist the video all she wants, but she's kind of come out and, you know, caused all these problems with a bullshit video. Now she just gets to slink away. I don't know, it just feels so unfair. It feels so unbearably unfair, doesn't it, you know? The Super Mega guys, although it is partly their fault, they're not making content, and they've done some shitty things themselves, like throwing Don under the bus. That being said, you know, they've been kind of fucked over in a few ways by this. The Don guy has like scuttled away. Sorry, I don't. He hasn't scuttled away. What I mean, I'm getting mixed up, guys. It's my Alzheimer's. It's my fucking Alzheimer's. Fucking good thing, okay? The Don guy has like left Twitter. He's put a Patreon post out, okay, and he's like just desperately trying to claw onto whatever fucking online thing he can. Even that Patreon post that he put out, people put it onto the subreddit and were shitting on him. It's like they wanted complete and total utter destruction for the guy. That's what makes it so unbearably unfair. People want complete and total utter destruction for Don. They want him squashed like a bug from the internet. They want him completely and utterly wrecked and destroyed because that's the nature of these scorpions, okay? These scorpions want to destroy Don. But I'm sat here because I'm a nice guy, okay? And I'm like, even though I think Lex Updog is a horrendous, terrible, disgusting person, you know, I don't want the kind of saving response, do you know what I mean? It's just unfortunate that she's going to get away completely scot-free with all of this, you know? That's what's so unbearably fair about it. Everyone wants Don destroyed. But even me, in all of my distaste and disgust for this person, wouldn't ever want to see someone completely squashed from the internet like that, you know? And there's no chance of her getting that even if I did want that, you know? Whereas Don, obviously, is just kind of fucked, I don't know. I don't know if there's any update. Well, you can speak for yourself, obviously, in chat if you feel differently about it, but, you know. People ask what the comments are like. I don't really care about what Reddit is saying, to be honest. I just want to read the statement. We live in an age where someone can come forward with allegations, and that in itself is enough to just immediately assume they're correct and issue complete and utter social destruction on the person that's getting accused. And there's nothing that you can really do to stop it or prevent it from happening, you know? Even if there's some respite, like there's still a lasting harm that you just can't rub off. And in Don's case, well, Don is, you know, essentially crushed, right? So yeah, it just feels so desperately unfair. But hey, what can you do? I just don't like the endless affirmation by Super Mega for Lex. Well, it's changed a bit. There's some posts that are criticising Lex on the subreddit now. But the problem is when Super Mega came out with their responses, they just totally and utterly threw Don under the bus. So they kind of teed up their audience to endlessly affirm and justify the allegations against Don, siding with Lex.
With exciting new sounds. With their current top 10 hit Purple Haze, here are the Jimi Hendrix Experience.
I said earlier, if Don, if you happen to be listening to this, and you want to come on and tell your story, okay, in a male appropriate environment, then yeah, I'm there for you, okay? And for the content, don't get me wrong, but how do you avoid a woman like Lex Updog before disaster scenario? On the first date, you need to ask the woman if they're on treatment for any mental health issues. And if the answer to that is yes, don't even listen further to the response. Immediately walk out, don't look back. Okay. No, wait. That's a bit unfair. I think one aspect is just don't get involved with egos. Like, I know that sounds insane, but like, just don't. Egos are more trouble than they're worth. Even that fucking other whore. What's her name? The fucking porn star one. The porn star one that one of the Super Mega guys had sex with. Morpie. Yeah, that fucking whore, right? Even getting involved with her was a mistake, because she, after the original video came out with a story to further add to the pylon on the Super Mega guys, even though the reality of it is, when you heard it from the other side, what Morpie said was completely bogus and total bullshit. This idea that, like, he'd done something terrible to her was completely fucking bogus. All that had happened is they'd had, like, a kind of, like, fling between relationships on his part. That was it. And she made out like he'd done something terrible to her. Ridiculous. But that, at the time, and this is the thing, at the time, people were seeing red and they wanted blood. So they all jumped on and took Morpie's story, and it further added to this pile on the Super Mega guys. Why don't more people talk about how Rav said there was more context to the situation between Don and Lex, seemingly in Don's favour? Everyone just glosses over that. Because Don has been determined to be a sexual assaulter, and that's it. That's all that's needed. A woman said someone is a sexual assaulter, so they're a sexual assaulter. That's it. And you notice as well, all of the people that are saying, oh, well, the story got verified. No, it didn't. The story never got fucking verified, because all the people that are apparently verifying it are verifying it off the back of Lex Updog saying it happened. Because if you go and read Don's side of it, yes, admittedly, he was a bit soy in his response, sure, but it's quite clear that his telling of it is not sexual assault from his perspective at all. So all of these claims that it is indeed a sexual assault are coming from Lex. There's no... Okay. Anyway, we need to chill a bit with the misogyny. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. We need to relax, okay. Yes, Swing Set Mafia is correct. Yes, So the thing is, you know, Super Mega attribute their lack of quick response to the fact that obviously Don's story was different. But then they kind of reaffirm this idea that he did do the thing, and, you know, they should have acted sooner, But quite clearly, it seems pretty evident to me that what happened is Lex said that the thing happened in the worst possible way and acted like it was sexual assault. Asked Don was like, well, that's not what happened. The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, but obviously it's 2023, you've got to side with the woman, or you're a rape apologist. Yeah, and the thing is Don, you know, people didn't look at it Don is a sexual assaulter. I even saw people calling Don a rapist. Didn't that fucking Nick is Not Green loser? He called Don a rapist in his video, didn't he? Crazy, absolutely crazy. Predator, called him a predator, yeah. Mental. Anyway, like I say, that's just a little update on the Super Mega situation. If you want to see my coverage, that I watched all. I'm not sure. I think most of it got put into YouTube content that was worth watching. Yeah, it's all up there. Crazy. Good to see this refreshed scrutiny on it, but sadly, the true victim of all this, Don, is completely out of the story now, and it's obviously all about Super Mega and them getting fucked over, which yeah, they did, but in doing so, they also fucked Don over. Don is basically at the bottom of the bar in all of this. Yeah, Nick is Not Green is your typical, like, soy, leftoid, believe all women, immediately jump on and believe all allegations, do not scrutinise them, push them as if they're true. It's cancer. It's absolute fucking cancer. All of it is so cancerous. And I'm sorry to say, this is the way the internet is going. It's been going this way, it is going this way, and it's only going to get fucking worse and worse and worse and worse. You know, the reality is, if you're like a dude that does internet stuff in any capacity, you're best off completely disassociating your personal relationship life from any internet stuff and going and finding some normie to date. It's honestly not worth the hassle, it's not worth the risk. I personally, well, yeah, I mean, you know, obviously the right got their own issues in other ways, but this is kind of like pushing the false allegations. Well, I don't even want to say, like, I mean, this is fresh in my memory, so I watched a video about it recently, but remember James Gunn? James Gunn got fired from Guardians of the Galaxy because Mike Cernovich dug up old tweets of his saying edgelord stuff about kids and posted it. That was fucking the right wing that did that. So it is absolutely both sides that are capable of this kind of like ruination via digging up old tweets or dubious allegations and stuff like that. Yeah, that was pretty despicable. But yeah, it's just, I think people see someone they don't like for some reason, I think there's some justification in going after them, and they'll do whatever they can to fuck with them. It's kind of crazy. How is it different? I mean, obviously the mechanism of it is different, but what I mean is, like, that's cancel culture as well, right? One is a false allegation. Well, no, Mike Cernovich was trying to claim that James Gunn was some risk for kids, wasn't he? It wasn't just, oh, look at these old tweets, look at these old any jokes. He was obviously sharing them to push the idea that he was like some danger to kids. Obviously working on a Disney film, right? I would say, I think it probably, yeah, the right does do it, but I think if you were to look at a lot of these things, it does tend to come from the left. Like, there's more behaviour from the left that is going to be objectionable to be cancelled over, right? What's this? Beef jerky. Oh god, what is this shit, man? Pineapple upside down. Is this the one they released at the time?
I need white noise to sleep. I need a sleep mask on me. I should be going with pow pow pow. I should be shot like cow or yow. Salmon's a superfood. Salmon's a superfood. You are just super rude. I took a super nude for $5. How about you? Wanna find on TV? I eat a primer early. I eat just to feed me. I eat just to need me. Throw stones, toss all across the creek, and I do it every day. Money for Freddy.
If Nick is not green killed himself tomorrow, there would be way more people that would celebrate that and be sad. I'm not saying he should do it, okay? Listen, suicide is bad and all that. I'm just pointing out that I see a lot of fucking positivity on Twitter if that were to happen, okay? That's all I'm saying. All I'm pointing out.
Every week and I do it every month. March, February, I go to Naples, pineapple upside down.
I mean, this is the other thing as well. It's so incestuous, isn't it? It's all so incestuous. They're all fucking pals with each other.
I go to Naples, pineapple.
That's the Ethan guy, isn't it? That's Lex Abdog's boyfriend. Also fucking incestuous. I can't watch any more of this anyway. This is sickening to me. Anyway, there we go. Oh, there was another aspect to this actually. I don't know if Lyrics talked about this in the video. This is something I put out time as well, but it's this kind of idea that, and there's no hard proof of this. Obviously, it's just a Discord message from a hater, a super mega hater Discord. But this idea that there was commentary talking about, or a message talking about, Leighton wanted to cancel Super Mega, but someone else needed to come out first. Which is exactly what happened. Lex Abdog came out with her video about it, and then Leighton came out with this video shitting on Super Mega. Like, this is exactly what happened, what was discussed in this Discord ahead of time. But there's not enough proof of it, unfortunately. But yeah. Anyway, that is it. That is the updated Super Mega situation. I don't really know what to say about it.
What is the definition of flabbergasted? I mean, it is to be flabbergasted. It's defined by the name. No, that's not what is it? That's not the definition.
To give you an example, a woman, a stereotypical woman, can be a very maternal, motherly, kind, gentle person, but they can also be like a Jersey Shore, like bratty mall.
Name one thing you like about men. I'll start. When...
No, baby, this is not okay. You shouldn't make fun of men. As a feminist, we want to have equality between men and women. And at the end of the day, there are so many things that men are good at. Out of my mind, I can tell you 10 things immediately. Example, men are good at...
Yeah, guys, because we all know that womanism is about equality, am I right? Like, who even is buying that anymore?
I just stumbled upon a really great phrase for calling men out. So, you know, when you're on, like, especially the first few dates with a guy, and he says something misogynistic and gross, but you don't know if this is a violent guy, and so you don't want to say something that upsets him, because, of course, that's something... You're a girl, you're always having to be worried about that. But you want to call him out. So, I'm on this date. This guy, he interrupts me, and he's like, hold on. And I was like... Did you mean to do that? And he just like backtracked. You should have seen it. He's like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to interrupt you like that. That was rude. And I was like, yeah. Okay, because what it's saying is like, that was stupid. I'm assuming that you're not stupid. I'm going to let you try again. And then it like stops them in their tracks, and they just like want to be like, oh my gosh, no, of course I'm not stupid. I think there's...
I don't know about you guys, but this whole try again kind of crap, guys, men are not willing to be trying again. It is 2021, okay? You girls have established yourselves as strong and independent, why the hell would we need to do all this trying? See, this whole strong and independent womanism thing that's going on, gentlemen, you know, they want to be strong and independent, that's totally fine. But independent means independent, okay? And men are slowly starting to wake up and realize, hey, wait a minute, you're telling me that I don't have to put up with this crap? Wow, that's actually crazy. And you know, you'll get girls out there who will be nice and, you know, who will like you and stuff like that. But I mean, I just showed you two fantastic examples that took me literally 30 seconds to find, of girls just absolutely, let me put it to you this way, I don't understand why any man would put up with this kind of crap. But guys, what is going on? It is Taylor the Fiend back again with another response video, and on today's show, guys, we're going to be breaking down a couple of TikToks together. So as we go through, feel free to leave your comments and your thoughts below, and subscribe on your way in. And also today we will be doing part 2 of the story that we did in last episode. So if you haven't seen the previous episode, guys, we're going to be doing a Reddit story part 2 and breaking that down in depth, because it was quite a lengthy one. So if you'd like to see part 1 of that story, it is in the video before this. But guys, if you're new here, make sure you subscribe on your way in. Come and join the Discord, link in the description if you haven't already. And as always, if you'd like to support the channel, guys, make sure you check out the Patreon link in the description. If you're looking to become a supporter, help out with the growth of the channel, guys, that's a fantastic way to do it. And the link for that is in the description. But guys, we're going to jump straight back into this one. We're going to break it down together, so feel free to leave your comments as we go through. And yeah, let's crack right in.
Stumbled upon a really great phrase for calling men out. So you know when you're on, like especially the first few dates with a guy, and he says something misogynistic and gross, you don't know if this is a violent guy, and so you don't want to say something that upsets him because...
Yeah, here's the thing, these whole girls saying, oh well, he said something misogynistic and gross on the dates. First of all, it's always funny, man, because girls will go out on dates with guys that they don't particularly like, and they'll continue going out on dates with him because he you know, he's paying for the date or stuff like that, or maybe they just want the free attention and validation. Right, a lot of girls will go on dates, and what they'll do is the guy will blow like $100, you know, or go somewhere nice, treat her to an experience, right? Because they'll go on the date for the experience, and then what they'll do at the end, they'll be like, oh, well, that's beautiful, well, I had fun, thank you, and then they'll like give you a kiss on the cheek, right? And you'll think, yes, she gave me a kiss on the cheek, maybe next time I can invite her over back to my house, or I can make something happen. And then next time she's like busy, or she doesn't want to show up, or whatever. What you don't understand is that when girls do that, they're seeing guys at the time. If a girl is single, gentlemen, she's not actually single. Okay, yeah. Like when guys say, "Oh yeah, I'm a dude and I'm single," what that means is you're really by yourself. Because the default, guys, is people don't give a crap about you. Right? No girls kicking down your door, no girls sliding into your DM. When you're single as a guy, you mean like, dude, no girl ain't, she ain't there for me. You know what I'm saying, right? But when girls say they're single, oh, you better believe they're seeing guys. So if they're going on dates with you, please don't make the mistake of assuming that they're not going on dates with other guys. Okay, and you'll get guys and girls over here that'll say, Taylor, that's so cynical. How could you say that? You know, there are good girls out here. I'm not saying they're not good people, but what I am telling you is these people are keeping their options open. Okay? I'm not making a moral judgment on that. I couldn't give a crap. But I would just like men to understand that a lot of times you are getting played for your resources, your time, and your attention. You can make your own judgment about whether it's right or wrong. I don't particularly give a crap as long as guys understand. Let's continue.
Because of course that's something, you're a girl, you're always having to be worried about that. But you want to call out. So
both men and women actually have to be concerned about what we say. See, we as men, we speak our mind a lot more, right? But that doesn't mean that our words don't have consequences. Like if I'm a scrawny guy, I go up to a big guy and I start talking smack to him. It's like, what do I think's gonna happen? You're a guy and you go out on the town and you have a bit too much and you get, you say something, you'll get into a brawl with the guy. It is what it is. Okay, both men and women have to be careful of what they say. And here's the thing, okay? Look, I don't mean to be condescending when I say this, but we as men, like, we're pretty stupid with words, right? Like, we'll be open and honest to a fault a lot of the time. Like, if you're hanging around with your boys and he's asking you an opinion on something, you're gonna give him your opinion. You're not gonna try and like spare feelings and do all this crap. You see, because men communicate overtly. We actually say what's in our mind. You guys ever try and talk to a girl, particularly if you're in a long-term relationship or a marriage, and you try and discern what's wrong? Like maybe she's upset about something. Oh, you better believe you're going to get all sort of covert mysticism type of language. You know, and if you as a guy, you're thinking, well, okay, well I did all those things that you told me to do, but nothing seems to be changing. That's because she's not being honest. She's not, see, because women talk covert. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But especially like the more that hinges on their language, the more likely they are to speak covertly. So if it's like something like maybe talking about how she feels or whatever the hell, a lot of the time she won't be open and honest about that. And that's just the way it is.
So I'm on this date. There's a guy, he interrupts me, he's like, hold on. And I was like, what do you mean to do that?
Like, I just want to point this out, gentlemen. If you're on a date with this lady, I want you guys to think in your head right now, who is more likely to get interrupted, you or her? And just think to yourself, you know, you as a guy sitting there, whatever your name happens to be, you're watching this video, I want you to think, okay, would you be more likely to interrupt this lady, or would she be more likely to interrupt you? I would take the latter on that one, to be quite honest. Right? These girls, what they'll do is they'll be indignant about behavior that's done against them, as if they don't do it every damn day. You know, these people who complain about, oh yeah, this guy gaslit me, he was terrible, he was a terrible guy. All these girls that say this kind of crap, you better believe they're out here doing the exact same behaviors. You know, the thing that's funny about gaslighting, guys, is that you can gaslight people by saying that you're being gaslit by them. And girls will do that. Right? They'll change their emotions to convince you of things. They'll gaslight you of things. Am I saying that every girl is going to do that? Absolutely not. But, you know, it's important for guys to have an understanding of how this crap actually works and to not put up with it. I'm not interested in going on a date with a girl that talks like this. I literally have no interest in it. I mean, she's not my, without being too rude here, guys, she's not my type anyway. And I'm sure she might not be a good portion of your types, but like beyond that, men aren't interested in this whole confrontation type of crap. And these girls will turn around at 30 and 40 and be like, oh, well, why can't I find a guy? It's like, dude, you had your chance. You had your chance. And not only that, you treat men like absolute crap. Again, to emphasize, gentlemen, I did not have to look hard to find these TikToks. Right? It's not as if I'm searching far and wide to find this stuff. I could search by hashtag and find them very quickly. You know what I mean? It's like, these kind of videos are incredibly common.
And he just like backtracked. You should have seen it. He's like, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to interrupt you like that. That was rude. And I was like, yeah.
One thing I want to point out, guys, I've said this before on the channel, but to make it, you know, to hammer it home, this is incredibly toxic. What I'm about to say, like, I'm not gonna short it, gentlemen, but apologies. I don't think you should apologize as a man. I really don't. I don't care if you've done something wrong. I don't care if you've done something right, whatever. At the end of the day, gentlemen, I do not think you should be apologizing. And the reason for that is because girls cannot take apologies at face value. Okay, so let me say this. If you apologize to a girl, you will often notice that the situation gets worse. Because what happens is she loses respect for you. Notice during this video how when she said he backtracked and apologized, she smiled. You see what I'm saying? Because now she knows that he's beneath her. You see, this is what girls will do. It's just a crappy little power game. That's all it is, gentlemen. It's like, if you apologize, in her head, what she's seeing is not necessarily the virtue of being sorry, right? Of admitting your mistakes and your faults, and maybe you did something wrong. She's not seeing that. What she's seeing is weakness. You see, you'll notice, guys, if like, you know, I've been quite sick on this channel oftentimes, or, you know, the volume will be incorrect, and I'll put like a little apology pinned in the comments, and you guys will oftentimes understand. You'll be like, oh, dude, it happens, it's all good. Or maybe you won't, it's up to you, right? But you'll notice that I'll put an apology in the description. And the reason I can do that is because men look at that and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. You see, you can apologize to a guy, and he's going to be like, he'll kind of decide for himself whether or not the apology is warranted, right? But girls, man, you get into an argument with a girl and you apologize, you better believe that you might have thought that you won that little battle right then and there, and she calms down and everything's good. You better believe that the next battle is going to be a worse one for you. Because she now knows that she can nudge the boundaries a little bit further. She now knows that she can shift your behaviors a little bit further. Guys, I'm going to move on to the video in a second here, but if you're a guy and you do something wrong, don't apologize. But if you think it needs to be fixed, fix it afterwards. Okay, like I'm not saying to continue bad behaviors if you don't like whatever it is you're doing or you made a genuine mistake. But fix it afterwards. Don't be apologizing, right? And I know that's really cruddy of me to say, guys, but I'm just trying to give it to you straight. Like, and that's just the way it is at the moment.
Okay, because what it's saying is like, that was stupid. I'm assuming that you're not stupid. I'm going to let you try again.
Yeah, and you know, here's the trouble that you're going to have with that. As you get older, and as you become more and more, you know, like this, men are going to try less and less. Okay, so you might be able to pull the try again card now, and sure, men will try again and they'll try and help you out. But you try and pull that in a few years, and then a few years after that. You see, like, guys who are wise to this stuff won't put up with this at all. But you'll notice even the guys who don't really understand this sort of stuff, you'll notice that they'll start to run away from you too. Okay, but guys, we're going to run into, we've kind of run out of time here. I would like to run into the Reddit story today and continue with the part 2. So I'm just going to pull that up for you guys real quick and do a quick recap. This is a story I did in the last episode. If you haven't watched the last episode, I'd encourage you to go and watch it so you can see the first part of this story. But just to catch up, basically, this girl has BPD and she cheated on him with at least, I'll just read this part as a recap. I went into her Instagram and was completely shocked and disgusted by what I saw. This was the thirstiest, dirtiest conversations that I've ever seen, sending photos, explicit messages, planning hookups with at least 4 to 5 dudes in the span of the past couple of weeks, sometimes having the conversation while she's with me, or when she claimed to be tired or sleeping at home, or not feeling well. I'm pretty sure she's already met up with a few of them. So this is kind of the situation we're up to again, guys. I'm going to leave the link to the full thing in the description so you can read the full thing if you like yourself, or watch the first episode, but we're going to continue on from where we're at, gentlemen. Anyway, I texted on Thursday morning asking where my keys and stuff are, which delivered but never got a response. I tried to ask again calmly this afternoon because I just want my keys and to move on, but it turns out she blocked me. Like what? The audacity. What do you get from that? So this woman has his keys still and she hasn't given them back. This all happened this past Friday and he hasn't heard a peep since. I really just want to get my keys and stuff back for her to never step into my life again. It's crazy the amount of gaslighting, lying and manipulation that someone can do, and as someone who gives people the benefit of the doubt before it's broken, I learned the hard way to look for action over words. Yep. Anyway, blah blah blah. Here we go. My best piece of advice is always trust your intuition. If there are red flags popping up, walk the hell away before you get hurt. Don't hold hope that those flags will disappear because they are there for a reason. Too long didn't read. Things were going really well with this girl. Started getting sketchy after returning to a bar job after these restrictions lift. Was gaslit and lied to so many times where I started thinking it was me who had the issues. Turns out she was cheating on me the minute she stepped back into work. I cut it off and not looking back, just want my keys and building blah blah blah. But she's now blocked me after I asked for them. Never dealt with something like this before. I'm exploring changing the locks, but it's hard in a condo and expensive, but I'm considering it. The blocking me part is what really frustrated me. She's also got a podcast, although not super popular, and I'm concerned that she's going to smear me in there and make up lies about the situation and play me to be the bad guy. Gentlemen, this is exactly what will happen. I know a lot of you have been in relationships where this kind of crap has happened, where towards the end of it, you might not be a bad guy, and most guys are inherently not bad dudes, okay? Especially a lot of guys that get taken advantage of in relationships, okay? A lot of you guys out there, not bad guys, okay? And what you'll notice at the end of relationships is girls will do this thing where they'll try and smear your name while at the same time uplifting themselves. So this is incredibly common, okay? But that is the end of the story there, guys, and I'm going to scroll back up, and there are a few things that I in particular wanted to address that you might find useful if you haven't been in a situation like this, or you've been in a situation like this and you're only just realizing what it was. So we're going to scroll back up, and I really wanted to point out this disorder that this lady has right here. It's at the top, right here. She was diagnosed with BPD or a form of. Gentlemen, if you do not know what BPD is, it is a cluster B personality disorder characterized by fear of abandonment. Okay, that's the primary thing. And like I mentioned on the last video, these girls will act as pleasant as they need to be to get your attention, oftentimes these will be the most, these will be the girls who you'll never forget for the rest of your life kind of deal. Okay, they're the most fantastic ones, but they will also be the worst ones. They will treat you the most like crap. They will gaslight you. They will do all sorts of terrible things to you. And these kinds of girls are becoming increasingly common as family structure begins to break down, because BPD and having BPD is predicated on the fact that they get abandoned. Okay, and it doesn't matter if the abandonment is willing or not, usually by the father. It doesn't matter if it's willing or not, the abandonment is a necessary part of that. And what you'll notice is, as these families break up, as men are forced either out of the home or, just forced to leave, and we all know how the government is at the moment, guys, for taking away kids and stuff like that. I mean, you only have to look at my comment section to understand what the hell is going on for men. But what you'll notice is you're going to end up with a lot more girls who get quote-unquote abandoned and end up with this. Okay, and what will happen is guys will get into relationships with girls like this, and they'll not understand what the hell is happening to them. Okay, and this guy, if we go back down here, right, he notices, and he wrote in capitals that you should always trust someone's actions over their words. Now, he's probably come across a channel like mine, or a channel over this kind of the internet. Like, look, see, he has self-respect, right? He got this, he didn't have this in the beginning, it seems. I cut it off, and not looking back, he just wants his stuff back. But most guys cannot cut this kind of crap off, okay, without understanding what it is. And what happens to men is they will get themselves in very, very, very poor situations and not be able to get themselves out, guys. So please, if you've gone through a situation like this, I would encourage you to look up borderline personality disorder, otherwise known as BPD. Read through it to make sure it doesn't happen to you again. Or even if you haven't gone through this situation, I would encourage you to look it up so that you know what the hell to look for. Because it's incredibly dangerous, okay? This is the kind of crap where guys say to themselves, not only am I done with marriage, not only am I done with relationships, sometimes men go through these kinds of situations, and they think to themselves, I think I'm done in general. Okay, so this is incredibly important, and I understand that I'm kind of losing a lot of viewers the more I talk here, guys, because we're not going over a story or a TikTok too much, but I just wanted to get that out there that, guys, you need to seriously be looking into this. Especially, I would also encourage you as well, if you are a father of children, particularly boys, I would encourage you to look into this, because BPD is common in girls, so chances are your boy will come across something like this in their life. So the earlier you can educate them about this, in a non-pushing way, obviously. Like I'm not a parent myself, but educating on this kind of thing in whatever manner possible would be ideal. So I just wanted to bring that up, guys. I'm going to jump into one more story and kind of get out of the negativity. Who am I kidding? These things are all negative. But guys, we're just going to jump into a different story here, okay? And this one is titled, let me just make it smaller. What have I done to the screen? Goodness gracious me. But it is titled, My Wife is Cheating. I know she is. She won't admit it. And she's trying to say it's in my head. Now, guys, this whole gaslighting thing, the funny part about it and the really disgusting part about it is girls will complain till the ends of earth, till the end of days, about gaslighting and the like. But let me tell you, most men don't even know how the hell to gaslight. You see what I'm saying? It's like, this is usually a girl thing. But anyway, wife's cheating, I know she is. She won't admit it and is trying to say it's in my head. And we go down. Reasons I know she is cheating with someone from her work. Photo of pregnancy test in October last year. We haven't had bedroom fun in over a year now. She bought these fun underwear. I found it. Again, she claimed it was for us. Still no sign of her wearing it for me, and she packed it for a work trip. Gentlemen, this is sadly very common in relationships, okay? And I've covered this in other videos, but if this kind of stuff is happening to you, the withholding and the, not a whole lot of fun, shall we say, it sounds really toxic, the advice I'm going to give to you, and that's because it is, but girls will do this kind of crap when they know that they have you under their thumb, and they know that you're not going anywhere, and that they know that you're going to continue to invest in them almost regardless of what kind of crappy behavior they hand your way. That's why girls will do this kind of stuff, because they think, well, why would I put in the effort when he's going to stick around no matter what? You have to show girls that you're willing to leave. That's the only. You have to show girls that either A, you're a valuable commodity, introduce some anxiety, or just show her that you're willing to leave, okay? Those are the primary solutions to this kind of stuff. It's unfortunate